Good morning, my Teaserking family. How is everybody today? I'm well. I was busy yesterday. I was going to do it last night and I got tired. So that's okay. So, what's going on today? Well, we look at gold and comex and the game. And the game's being played. So it's month end, and I think that's why gold and silver are going down because it's got nothing to do with the market. Again, the comex games they're all options. Nobody's buying, nobody's selling. Everybody's buying gold, nobody's selling an ounce. And that wouldn't trigger it anyway. As I tell us, if we all bought 10 tons of gold, price wouldn't move because the price is not a physical price. The price is an option price. That's why comex is such full of shit. It's not a real price. Why they use the comex price to price gold and silver is beyond me. It's not anywhere near a real price. So right now we got we got gold at 32.95. It keeps pushing back to 3,300. But it looks like that's it. I mean, it looks like we saw 32.94. We see 30, so it seems to be at the bottom. There's a lot of buying. There's a lot of options being bought at 32.95. It's all trading places, Eddie Murphy. It's just bullshit. It's just options being traded. They're shorting it, which they're really in trouble because that means if China comes on and says, I want to take delivery and I want, I'll do the buy part of the option. So there's a seller and a buyer. So they come in and buy. The U.S. has to settle the contract with physical gold, which where they're going to get. They can't get it. Now, why is this 32.95? If we went to the coin store and said, I'd like an ounce, and they'd sell it to us at 32.95 plus 100. So it would be 33. Let's call it 3,400. Why is that the price? This price is bullshit. We know this price is bullshit. This is not real. Why are we living in an unrealistic price for gold and silver? Silver, 36.59 down $1. Why? Did anybody sell an ounce of silver? No. Who's selling it? Everybody's buying it. Gold, very expensive. You're buying silver. You need it for the solar panels and the electric car batteries, and it's money. If you read this, let's look at this chart. So if you just looked at the chart as if it was real, which it's not, you would see, it's at 37.20 at 2 a.m, and then it goes down to 36.20. It goes down $1. So are you telling me at 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock, there's all this selling, lowering the price? If that would even lower the price? What a joke this is, right? So, and then it, what does it do? It pops back up at 36.20, and now it's back to 36.58. So what does that tell you? Is this real? Is there that much selling going on from 6 o'clock roughly till 7:30, and then mysteriously at 7:30 the price goes back up? Okay, everybody's buying. What kind of crap is that? This is uglier than the stock market. I mean, the stock market, we all know, is fixed. All right. This has got it beat. This is Madoff at its finest. This whole thing's bullshit. Madoff. Paper prices on options that are lowering and raising the price. The BRICS are still buying gold as much as they can. So there's no selling. There's a bunch of buying, but that the price isn't going up. And I've seen that question on Mark McGuire. Why is, if everybody's buying gold, why is the price going down? Because it's got nothing to do with physical gold being bought or sold. It's all based on options. We have a fucked up system of pricing gold and silver. So we go, how do we take advantage of it? We know the price is really much higher. Why do I say that? Because for it to go down like it did, so at 6 o'clock in the morning, well, let's go back to gold. And notice it's the same graph. At 6 o'clock in the morning, this went down. So we're up to 32.97. So what's going on here? Let me put on my Austrian economics cap and my logic cap, and we'll come up with it. If you want to buy something, you want to pay as little as possible, right? If I want to buy Canadian Club, if I want to buy this 12-year bottle, I want to buy it as cheap as I can. When I go to the grocery store, I see things on sale. I want to buy them as cheap as can. Oh, steak's on sale for $10. I'll buy it. $20, I'm not interested. So what you have with gold is, we got to think outside the box, which is what I do. What you have is people, I mean central banks and state banks and shadow banks, and even the public, Russia, China, and India, wanting to buy gold cheaper. They know they need it because they know the dollar's bankrupt. They know the euro is bankrupt. So if this is all bankrupt, I need to get into gold, because there's no other currency I can get into, because none of them are worth anything, because they all printed it, because they're all in the same boat, because the governments are the same everywhere. You have the socialists running it. We call them the Keynesians. They're socialists. It's already been proven that they're idiots, but okay. But we understand what they're doing. So what do we do? Well, we know the dollar's not worth, so we don't want to hold dollars. So we don't want to hold anything in dollars. We don't want to hold stocks. We don't want to hold bonds that'll never get paid back. You got 37 trillion in debt, plus there's probably 40 or 50 trillion that's not in that spot. So we probably owe 100 trillion. We're never going to get paid back. So why would I want to buy a bond from somebody that's never going to pay me back? And a bond's an IOU. So all I'm doing with the bond is saying, here's $10,000. I get a little interest, and then you pay me back at the end of, let's say, 2 years or 5 years. Let's say 2 years. I'll buy a 2-year bond, 10 grand, and I get 11 grand back in 2 years. Really stupid, because of the inflation, the 11 grand's not going to be worth anything. Will I get paid back? No, because there's $37 trillion in debt that we know of. So how are they going to choose me to pay me back? That'll never happen. They can't pay back Social Security. They can't pay the military. They can't pay the interest on the debt. So where are they going to pay me? So what you have is people going into gold and silver and buying it. So what the government's trying to do is put the price down. And the average Joe goes, oh, I don't want to buy gold and silver. The price is going down. Us thinking fifth dimensionally out of the box says, well, we know that there's no reason for gold and silver to go down. Nobody in their right mind's selling it at this point. Maybe an ounce, but not. If you have 100 ounces, you might sell an ounce or two for expenses, but you're certainly not selling the bulk of your gold. Neither are the central banks. They're not selling any. Neither is the shadow banks in China and Russia and the mafia and the people in China, Russia, India. They're not selling any of their gold. I had a friend I worked with at Tenneco, was Indian. He says, my mom wants to sell her necklace. She has necklaces, but in India, they're like 24 karat. So an ounce necklace is actually an ounce of gold versus a coin. So it's almost okay to buy Indian jewelry because it's 24 or 22 karat. Therefore, the real ounce is worth the ounce. We're here, this is 18 karat. So this is not worth 1 ounce. It's worth 3/4 of an ounce. So I could go to the store now and get let's say it's 3,300. I could get 3/4 of 3,300. So what do? We sit there and we go, well, gosh darn it, the price is going down because they want it to go down because they are trying to get out of their options. This is a game. The US has all these options, just like today. They're doing all these options, all this, but they're selling, but they need to buy. So what they're doing is selling at 33.07 and hoping to buy it at 32. Well, it'll never get to 32. As soon as it hits 32.94, it's back to 32.98. Well, at some point they need to buy the options. And so why they keep selling on something so popular and such demand, I don't really know. Anyway, so we take advantage of this by buying gold. We buy it. We bought it at 1,700, at 1,800, all the way through the 2000s. If I had extra money, I bought. Same thing now. If I could buy it, I just keep buying it because it's about owning something of value. The key, number one, ship hitting the iceberg is this has no value. This is being printed between Social Security, the defense, the government, paying the government employees. Where do you get the money? The government does not produce any revenue. It's all expense. Sort of like engineering at Ford. They're all cost centers. They're all we gotta spend all this money, but they don't produce revenue. Now it helps in the car. They need to engineer stuff to sell the car, but basically they're cost centers. That's what the government is, one big cost center. No revenue, all cost. So they got to keep printing this. So that's worth nothing. So the first key is to get out of that. The second key we know is nobody's selling gold. So therefore, why is the price going down? We don't know. So the third thing is then what do we do? How do we take advantage of this? Well, since we know this price is fake, because there's no way this is going down. It's at 32.97 at this point. There's no way the real value of gold is under 10,000. So we go buy. That's how we take advantage. We do what they don't expect. They expect us to not go into gold because they're trying to hold the price down. Go into Bitcoin. It's 100,000. All I hear, why are you in Bitcoin? Because it makes money. Why does it make money? I don't know, but it makes money. It's a part of the Ponzi scheme. It makes money because that's where they want you. They're going to tax you, and then you're never going to get the money out because you'll send it to your bank, and the bank isn't going to give you your money. That's part of the Ponzi scheme. The banks will not give you. You got 100,000 in the bank. Good luck getting it out. They might give you 5 or 10 grand. I showed you China videos where people are crying. They can't get their money out of the bank. So good luck here trying to get your money out of the bank. So this is what's happening when it goes down and the silver's down. It's really for buyers. It's reverse. It goes down, so you buy it. But most people think emotionally and go, "Oh, I don't want to buy it. It's going down." But if you understand what's happening, you want to buy it when it's going down because it's going to go much higher. It's just on its last legs now. Because everybody's doing physical gold. There's physical gold exchange in Russia, Hong Kong, Singapore, St. Petersburg, Dubai, and but they keep comex alive because they can. Can you really buy gold at 32.96 an ounce? No. From whom? Oh, I'll go to comex for it. Comex is not like a store. It's not like my gold store that I go to. So what is comex? Who the fuck knows? It's just a Ponzi scheme. It's all it is. It's just a way to price fix gold and silver. And who benefits? The people who want to buy it cheap. And that's about done because I don't think there's any physical left. As I've explained in Madoff ended when everybody wanted their money out in 2008. Everybody needed money because they had to pay their stocks and they needed money for X and Y and the margin calls on their stocks. So everybody needed the money. So there was nobody. So normally it was quiet. Nobody asked for their money and they kept getting money in from the feeder funds. But the feeder funds needed the money, so they couldn't feed. And the people that normally don't take their money took their money. That ended Madoff. Same thing in comex. People who are in it are wanting the physical gold. They want the gold. They want to get out of money and buy the gold. And that's what's happening. Uh, and the way COMEX worked was nobody would ask for the gold. So there would be option trades between London and New York. We'll sell, we'll buy. And it was just like, that was it. And as long as nobody asked for the gold, it worked. And then now they're asking for the gold, they're taking delivery, and there's not a lot of gold left in COMEX or London. The more I read and see, London controls the US, London controls the gold market. It's all London really behind it. The US is just the stepchild. And London's broke. But London has no gold. They sold it all. They're Keynesians. They don't understand the power of gold and that you can't keep printing. For some reason, these people think we can just keep printing the dollar and nothing will happen. And that's what I say. It's like eating chocolate cake every day. You keep eating it, you're going to get fat, you're going to get sick, you're going to die because you can't eat all this sugar. This is the problem. You can't keep printing the money. It's worthless. Once you understand that, and you see them keep printing and printing, thinking, well, we can print as much as we want, that the game's over, and that's where we're at. And that's why I'm calling the game over. So COMEX is playing their games with London and the US. Gold price down. I assume at this point, maybe they are actually trying to buy gold. They finally figured it out, not at 500 or 1,000 or 2,000. At 3,300, they finally figured out, hey, we need to buy gold. 10 years too late. So that's what's happening. They're the ones pulling it because they want to buy it. The price is down because they want to buy, because these are options. And for some stupid reason, the gold price is set by the COMEX option exchange instead of the physical market. We keep waiting for the physical market to take over, which it's doing very soon. I would say in the next couple of months, it'll be physical. I think we'll wake up as we are in all these wars. The U.S. seems to think that wars get you out of a depression. That's what happened in World War II. The thing is, though, we were the manufacturing leaders. So we could actually manufacture all the weapons and sell them to the Russians and the British and the French, probably to the Germans. Ford sold them to the Germans. So they were at war and needed the weapons. Well, now it doesn't work. It's not the same thing. It's a very expensive to have war. And therefore, with that being the case, you're just going bankrupt, right? You were bankrupt before. Now Trump's going, and he's such a bullshitter. He nobody can believe him. He's worse than Hulk Hogan, and he's sitting there saying, "Oh, okay, I got them to buy. They're going to buy the, they're going to buy our weapons, and that, like it's World War II." The difference in World War II, we sold weapons to the British and the French and the Germans for gold. That's what bankrupted Britain is we got all their, we sold it to them for gold. Well, that's not what's happening now because they don't have any gold. We don't have any gold. We're relying on toilet paper to survive, which is not worth anything. And very, very soon, the stock market will crash. The dollar will crash. It's already starting to. That's what the dollarization is bullshit. It's not really that. It's BRICS going to a gold-backed currency because they don't trust the dollar. It's not like they're not using the dollar. They don't want to be tariffed. They don't want to be sanctioned. And they have their own currency, the gold-backed BRICS currency. So they're going with that. But now there's no demand for the dollar. Well, what happens when there's no demand? The price goes to zero. The value goes to zero. So even though it says $100 on your bill, does not mean it's the value of the $100 is $1, not $100. Even though it says 100 on it, it has no value. The only thing with value is gold and silver. And don't for a minute think that Bitcoin or these stable coins or any digital currency has any value, because it's not even real. And I'm not going to argue with that point. You prove to me it's real and you prove the value. Can you go into a grocery store with a Bitcoin and use it? Absolutely not. If you want to do it, you have to sell your Bitcoin. It goes into your bank account. Well, why does it go into the bank account? and then you got to beg the bank. So if you sold one Bitcoin for 100,000, okay, I want my 100,000, and you couldn't get it. You could maybe get 5,000 out of the bank. That's it. If the bank doesn't just keep it all and say, you know what, this is money laundering, I'm not going to give it to you. Trump's bullshitting everybody with this whole digital thing, with the stable coins. That's just another scam from him. He's turning into a pretty good mayoff between Epstein and these stupid wars that we can't win, but we're just trying to sell weapons. He's, I'll sell weapons. That'll get us out of the depression we're in. Yeah, sorry, it's not going to work. The wars are very expensive, as we know. That's the problem. So the game is comex keeping the price down so you don't run into gold, because most people don't understand. So if you don't understand it, you're not going to, gold's not 100,000. I'll buy Bitcoin because I'll make money in Bitcoin. That's all I hear. I can make money in Bitcoin. You make a lot more in gold. Wait till gold hits 100,000 and you bought it for 3, right? So this is the problem. The money's worthless. This comex game playing where they're doing options, shorting the price of gold to keep it down, is probably to buy gold cheap. But the irony is, who's buying it? China, Russia, BRICS, India, Saudi Arabia, Brazil. They're the buyers. Is the U.S. buying it? Maybe. Do we know? No. Do we know there's gold in Fort Knox? We have no idea. We don't think so because they're not showing it. Some people think there is. Why? I don't know. Just because? Well, that's not an answer. But I can't say there's no gold in Fort Knox with any certainty, except that they're not showing it. You ask me for my mantle card, I show it to you. So I think if somebody asks you, do you have gold in Fort Knox, they would show it if they had it, because these are other countries. You've just had Germany, Italy, and France ask for their gold back. They said, we don't trust you. We want their gold back. Well, if they trusted them, why would they need the gold? Why is the gold here in the first place? I think it was World War II. They were afraid the Nazis would take it, except for Germany. I don't know why their gold's in here. So that's what you have. You have a lot of game playing. So when you see gold and silver down, you just wait for it to go up, because this is prime buying. And the countries that understand this, and all the central banks, and all Putin and all these guys that understand gold, will be buying the gold. Now I hear Trump's a gold guy, and Scott Simpson's a gold guy. Maybe they're gold guys, but they're buying it. So they're probably the ones buying it. Trump's probably buying gold. He has gold. Okay. Give him credit for that intelligence. But as far as the price being down, it's more, they're just buying more gold, but I don't think there's very much left. China's got 70,000 tons of it, and Russia 30, and India 30, and Saudi Arabia and Brazil. There's probably maybe 1,000 tons floating around, maybe, but all the central banks are buying it. So this is curious, but this is reverse psychology. This is a time to buy when the price is low. That's what the powers to be are doing. They're buying it at this low price. Why is it low now? I believe it's because of month end. So at the end of the month, they buy it because they simply, they're trying to set it to market, whatever that means. I'm not clear. But every month then it goes down. They say, look, gold's at 3,300. And then it goes up to 3,500 during the month. Hard to believe this is a way of actually pricing gold. It's absolutely ridiculous. So anyway, that's what's going on in comex. It's month end. It's for people to buy. It's to set the price lower. Will we have a revaluation where they just say, you know what, gold's $30,000 an ounce? If we had gold, here's my argument, then we would set the price at 50,000. Then we could pay off our debt. Our 37 trillion could be paid off, if they did that. Hey, David, good morning. Right? Because if you have the gold, then why not set the price at 50,000? Because Bricks has a lot of gold, and you couldn't, then they'd be all rich. Why are we controlling the price? That's the mystery. That's the stupidest thing, but I think it just was the way it's been since the early 70s. And I think that's what Russia's like, why are you controlling our gold price? Screw you. We'll control it, or let the market control it. We don't want you controlling it because you don't have any gold, so you're going to keep it down. So we understand that, so we buy more. Right now, it's the best buying opportunity you can ever have in gold and silver. David, did you see Russia had a earthquake? Yeah, I noticed that. I guess there was a tsunami. But I don't know what city it was in. It seems like it was on maybe near Alaska or something. So yes, I did hear about it. I kind of watched it a little, but I didn't quite get the details. I was watching a Hulk Hogan one. Oh, I'm really getting pissed about these things. Um, what the FBI found at Hogan's house. And I watched the video, and they didn't mention the FBI. FBI didn't find anything at the house, or if they did, they didn't say. The FBI found this or that. So I don't know if it was a operation. Apparently, the family knew he was dying a month or 2 months ago. And if it was from his back surgery or his neck surgery or something, hard to understand. The new wife, he had his third wife, some yoga instructor. She wasn't in the house, and everything was immaculate. The gym wasn't touched, which was unusual, but he probably couldn't do it. So, you just wonder why Hogan was, at 70 years old, working out, lifting weights. Uh, he's got the image. See, he understood his brand. I give him credit. I tell you about brand that a lot of these actors don't understand they're a brand. I'm a brand, basically. I get it, but a brand is, I'm the professor, so it's a brand. Hulk Hogan's a brand. And he actually had a store, and you could buy T-shirts and the bandanas and all his stuff. So he got that. That's what The Rock should do. That's what Stone Cold should do. All these guys should have stores and sell their merchandise, sell themselves, because that's what they are. And they got a lot of demand for the product, a lot of fans. So real quickly with these tariffs, let's bring up the tariffs. So the U.S. wants to tariff China. There's one problem. China doesn't need to sell to the U.S. to stay in business because they have competition and they have other buyers. It's not a monopoly. Tariffs only work if you're the monopoly, right? You can't tariff Germany because they sell Mercedes and BMW. So you tariff them, they're just not going to sell to the U.S., but they're going to lose a lot of sales. And in the U.S., if you want to buy a Mercedes, it's much more expensive. Now, they say that we're paying for the tariffs, but that's not true. The manufacturer pays for the tariffs. Can the manufacturer get the tariff price back from the consumer is the real question. I say no. So for Mercedes, that's probably a bad one because Mercedes is one of those products that you want to own a Mercedes. So it doesn't matter what the price is because people that can afford 100,000 for a car can afford 110,000 for a car. But let's say it's the one I like is this polo shirt, right? If there's a tariff on China who makes polo, let's say, and the cost goes up $10, right? Because it's 100% tariff or whatever. Then they raise the price, so their costs go up, and then they ship it here, and then they want to charge the manufacturer wants to charge the seller, the store who's going to sell it to the consumer. So they charge them $10 more. So now instead of this maybe cost them $20 to make, now costs $30 to make. So they mark, instead of charging $50, they charge $60 to polo. right? So the manufacturer who makes the polo shirt raises their cost $10 because of the tariff. It then goes to Polo, who then has an option. They either keep buying from China, they go to Vietnam or India to buy. So if they pay the extra $10 to China to keep making the polo shirt, then they want to pass it on to us. Oh, this is going from $60 to $70 now. So this shirt's going to cost you 70. We tell them to fuck off. I can go buy Nautica. I can go buy Tommy Hilfiger. I can go buy Brooks Brothers. I don't need a polo player. I'm not going to pay $10 more for a polo player, which is what happened to me on July 4th. So they want to increase the price. And what do you say? Oh, the consumer is going to pay for it. No, we're not going to pay for it. Because of competition, we go to another brand because this is not Mercedes. I don't need this. Mercedes is a specific car. It's a nice car. I'm gonna buy that. So that's a 100,000. It's now 110. I don't care. I just want to buy a Mercedes. Those people aren't price conscious. They're image conscious. They think this is an image conscious that I got a Polo, but I bought it for $35 a couple of years ago. So now I went there and it was like $100 for a polo shirt. I just laughed and walked out. I said, "You guys are you don't even know what the market is." And then I went into Brooks Brothers, and you buy a Brooks Brothers shirt for, they're on sale 80% off for $20. So I bought that, or I bought a Hilfiger shirt. I'm pretty good on polo shirts, so I bought some T-shirts that I wanted to get. I keep getting castor oil from my hand dripping on my shirt, and I found out a way. You use baking soda and hot water, and you soak the shirt, and then you wash it, and it should get the stain off, which I haven't. I'm about to try. But there is ways to get castor oil out. But I kept wondering, why are these stains? I wash them and they're not coming out because they're castor oil, which is a tougher seeping oil. But that's what you do. As long as there's competition, you basically, if the one guy's trying to sell it to you, you just tell him to fuck off. I'm not going to pay for it. Because we're playing the same game. So therefore, the tariffs don't necessarily get paid by the consumer. They maybe get paid by the store, by the polo store might pay the tariff. We know the manufacturer is going to pay the tariff. But if I simply don't buy it from China and have Vietnam make it, there's no tariff. So who's really paying the tariffs? It's always the manufacturer. Whoever's making it in China has that extra cost. They're the ones paying for it. Will Polo pay for it? Maybe. Will me and you as the consumer buy it? Absolutely not. It's too much because we have competition. On the other hand, there's also competition with companies, with countries. We'll tariff China. Okay, so we'll buy it from Vietnam. Then China pulls one and they say, you know what? You want to tariff us? Then you need minerals for your weapons. You need all these minerals and stuff. You need iron, you need ore, you need whatever. We're not going to sell it to you. Now you can't make your weapons. So if you want to tariff us, then we're going to tariff you. And that's what happened in 1929 when the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act came. Why it was a problem is all the other countries tariffed us back. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. That's why we had the depression in the 1930s from the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act. Because as we understand in Austrian economics, there's a market price, and then there's this. And when you tariff, you're moving this up, but the market's not going to pay for it. And if you inflate your money, the market has less money to buy things with. So the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act cost the farmers because the market was here and the farmer was there, and then the tariff forced it up, and then the other countries reversed the tariff. So it ended up costing the farmers more, and the market said, no, you have to understand the market. So as you raise prices, the market will not go up. Now we might, okay, I really want broccoli and maybe it's up a little bit. Okay, I'll buy it because it's healthy, so I need it. So there's certain things that you can't, but you can compete and buy a broccoli somewhere else. You can go to Aldi or one of these stores and buy the broccoli as opposed to going to Kroger's, right? But as long as it's competitive, most stores will be the same. David, is there a football game tonight? Yes, there is. There's Detroit and San Diego in the Hall of Fame game, but none of the players will play, which makes very little sense. I don't really understand that. At least have them play, a couple of drives, let them get used to the continuity of the offense and the defense, because there's no substitute for playing together. So it's really stupid. I don't, what are you going to watch? Four stringers. Although I am looking forward to Hooker playing for the Lions. See, I keep saying he's better than Goff. Everybody says Goff's great. I go, yeah, Goff chokes. He played really good against Washington. He played really good against the 49ers, and we lost both games. So my point is he's a choke. Hooker's not a choke because he beat Alabama 50-49. So he proved he's not a choke, just like Joe Montana beat USC in that green jersey game, and he beat Houston in the Cotton Bowl. Joe Montana's a winner, and so that's who you want at quarterback. The Niners were smart enough to draft him, but that's what you want. But that's not what you got with Goff. He's never won a big game in his life, right? He lost. I don't consider him beating Tampa in the playoffs as a big game. I consider him losing to the Niners and losing to Washington and losing to Buffalo and Baltimore. All the big games he lost, 4 or 5 turnovers. So he chokes whenever that's it. But Hooker doesn't choke. So we'll see Hooker play well, and it won't mean anything because they'll still start Goff and they'll still lose because he'll throw interceptions. The best thing that can happen to the Lions is Goff gets hurt. You go to Hooker. But they don't even want to go to Hooker. They want to bring in somebody else. They're so negative on Hooker for some reason. I guess they didn't watch the Alabama game. Then why the hell did you draft him? He's much better than Goff, but nobody will believe it until they see it. Anyway, so yes, there is yes, that's tonight. That's why they start off so slowly early in the year. Well, it's not only that. They should play in the preseason a bit. Exactly. And you know who plays in the preseason? Mahomes plays in the preseason. That's why they win the Super Bowl, or they're in the Super Bowl every year. There's no reason that the starters can't play a couple of series each game. It's the way they used to do it. They used to play 4 preseason games. In the first preseason, they'd play a little, and then they'd play the whole first quarter. And then by the third game, they played the whole first half. And the fourth game, they probably played a quarter. I don't understand this worry of injury that is there in baseball. Oh my God, every 5th day, these guys got to play. Yet I still see all the pitchers being injured. But they pitch every 5th day, 80, 90 pitches. Why are they getting injured? So maybe it has nothing to do with how many pitches they throw. It's they keep trying to throw curveballs or whatever. But I agree with you, David, wholeheartedly. But you will see Mahomes play, and you'll probably see a little Daniels. These like Cam Ward should play, but he won't. And last year they didn't play Steve Young, which was surprising because God knows he needed work. You might get Daniel Jones playing because God knows he needs the work. I mean, if you don't play these guys, so they're banking on these practices with the other teams as the games, which they're in T-shirts and shorts. They're not. It's got nothing to do with it. They can't hit the players. It's a joke. Hi, Awas. I am fine. How are you? What are you in Pakistan? How's everything there? Well, David, I mean, the more you play together, the better you're going to be. That's why they should. And if you're that worried about injury, maybe you shouldn't be playing football, or maybe you shouldn't be coaching football. If I'm the coach of the Lions, my starters are playing the first two possessions, and I expect them to go down and score. Then I pull them. I pull you when you score a touchdown. And I play them every game because in week one, you give up. You can't afford to lose the first couple of weeks. You can't give away 2 games because you're not ready. But a lot of teams do that. And then the regular season actually starts week 3 is when the regular season kind of begins because nobody's ready the first week because nobody's in shape. You've got to be in football shape, not running around, running 2 miles on the track because football is full intensity and then you stop. And then you got to get it again and again and again. And that's what's very difficult that you cannot do running a track or running a hill. Jerry Rice used to run the hill, but you just can't get it. You can only get it by actually playing and tackling. Tackling's so bad because these guys don't do it in practice. And you got a bunch of babies playing the game. It's very, very different now than it used to be. But at the end of the day, it's the talent that we bet on. There's really no Lawrence Taylor. There's no Walter Payton in the league. So we do Barkley's okay. And then you got, you got Mahomes, you got Burrows. A good battle, Josh Allen and Lamar in week 1. Lamar, they keep saying how, he's such a great quarterback and look at his stats. They're the greatest. And playoff wins. Oops. Yeah, he doesn't do well in the playoffs. I mean, that's the joke about him. And I just think they get tired of losing and put him at slot receiver because you're not ever going to win with Lamar. He cannot beat Mahomes. He can't beat Josh Allen. What are you doing? All right. And I doubt he'd do anything against Philly. They'd eat him up. Next week, gold, 3,300, lower up. Well, it'll be up because it's the month end. So don't worry about it. It's just the month end. They lower the price to set it to the book. But now it's a great buying opportunity. So gold, just figure gold's 4,500. Anything under 4,500, just buy it. You have to get out of your dollar. If you're Pakistan, your dollar's worthless, just like the U.S. dollar and the euro. So really what you're doing is getting out of dollars, right? And your only option's gold and silver or a Rolex watch or a Mickey Mantle card or something like that. So you're getting out of dollars. This is not an investment. This is not stock. This is getting out of the dollar before it collapses. And your dollar will collapse just like all the other dollars. The rupee in India has already collapsed. The US dollar's already collapsed. The euro's collapsed. They've all collapsed. China, ruble. So therefore, you just have to do that. So understand why you're doing it. You're doing it because the dollars are worthless because you cannot just keep printing and they're not backed by anything. That's why we don't like digital currency. They're not backed by anything. And you're gonna get paid in dollars, but when the dollar's not worth anything, what's your digital currency worth? Don't get into stable coins. They want to use them to buy bonds because nobody will buy bonds. We had a bond auction, last week or whatever. Nobody wants the U.S. bonds because our debt's too high. How are you going to pay me back? Plus, your dollar's worthless. So nobody's buying it. Nobody wants these tariffs imposed or sanctions or whatever Trump wants to do. Nobody wants that. So they don't want to deal with us. It's like dating a girl who's very pretty, but she's a bitch. She's always arguing. I want money. Buy me this ring and buy me that ring. And no, I won't have sex with you. But she's really pretty. And you're like, what the fuck? Why do I want to put up with it? I'll go find a girl who's nice and doesn't ask for a diamond ring and does put out. So that's what you do. So it's not just necessarily because how pretty they are. It's all the other things that you want and you're looking for in a partner. And this is the key to it. So nobody wants to play with the U.S. with these tariffs and George Soros, who's behind it all. Nobody wants to play with it. So part of what's happening with these tariffs are competition. So China doesn't need the U.S. They won't sell to the U.S. So the U.S. has to People will substitute. They'll go, you know what, we'll buy from Vietnam or China. Well, we'll sell to Japan or sell to Vietnam. We'll sell to Germany. They don't need to sell to the US. So as long as there's competition, tariffs never work. It only works if there's a monopoly. If we're the only ones selling oil and you got to buy our oil, you can tariff it and nobody has an option. But if whatever you're doing, there's options, there's competition, there's substitute goods, as we talk about, tariffs will never work because they'll just not buy from, oh, you want to tariff this shirt? Okay, well, you know what? I'll go buy Brooks Brothers shirts instead of this because there's $50 cheaper. And what are you going to do? I mean, that's the whole point. So you buy that instead, and your tariffs don't work. And that's what's happening. The tariffs aren't working because of that. These wars are very expensive. They just keep costing money and the lives and everything else. It's really stupid. So again, that's what competition is, and that's what the money is. The market will dictate what you can do. And the market says you can't do tariffs because if they raise the cost, we're not going to pay. We'll go and buy something else from some other place at this price. We're not going to pay this price. So tariffs just so to say the consumer pays for the tariff is just ignorance. We won't pay for the tariff. As you raise our price, we'll go somewhere else. You want a tariff Lucky Charms? We'll buy Cheerios. You want a tariff Oreo cookies? We'll buy Chips Ahoy. That's how the people are in the market is because I can't afford the increase. I'm not going to buy it. I only have so much to spend. If you want to kick it up, well, where am I going to get the extra money to buy this? So I'm going to buy things that are here, not here. That's how monopoly works. That's how free markets work. That's why we're into free markets. Oh, why is this time physically buy or no? Always physically buy. Always. As long as you have money, buy physical. As much as you can buy physical gold and silver, buy it. Much as you can buy. It's no time. This is not stocks. This is not an investment. This is getting out of your dollar before it collapses. And if you can still buy gold with your dollar, I would suggest you still buy it. Buy as much physical gold and silver as you can buy. All you can eat. It's going up. This price is just a joke. It's worth much more because of the demand and all these physical price exchanges coming up in Russia and China and Hong Kong and Singapore and Dubai are going to start selling it physically, and that'll end comex. Comex is on its way out. It's all price fixing so people can buy because the price is so cheap. So let's see what it is now. So it's still 32.95 and silver 36.63. Silver, why is silver down $1 today? Does that make any sense to anybody? Is it because everybody's selling silver? And if you are selling silver, is it to pay off the margin calls in your stocks or whatever? But it's not because people want to sell silver. They might have to, but the value of silver is far greater than 36.63. I mean, it was just 39 on its way out the door. So Mark McGuire lied to us because he said, well, once it breaks 38, it'll go to 50. Nothing stopping it. Oops. 32.95 for gold. Not worried about it. It's just it'll be 4,500. It's just the games played where people they're trying to stop you from buying gold. Buy Bitcoin, buy stable coin, keep the gold price down because most people have no idea. So they're not going to buy something that isn't going anywhere. They want to buy Bitcoin because it's 100,000. They want to get in on the scam. So realize that Bitcoin and stablecoin are Ponzi schemes. They're not real. Just like Madoff. Madoff wasn't real. It was a Ponzi scheme. As we know, he wasn't selling anything. Let's see. Do I got anything? Why does somebody think I want a reverse mortgage? Just a second. And I'm getting a lot of crap emails. All right, so let's go to baseball. But I'm trying to give you a rounded understanding of the war and the tariffs. The tariffs, all they do is increase costs, and the manufacturer's costs go up. He's got to cover his margin so he makes money. Otherwise, why would he doing it? Right? So if it costs me, $25 to make this and I can sell it for 50, and now you tariff me and now my cost is 35, I can't raise my price to 60. If I could, I would have priced it at 60. So that's all a tariff is. It makes this cost more to the manufacturer. Does not mean it's going to the consumer is going to have to pay it. That's just bullshit. They can try to pass it on and maybe the consumer will take the price increase. I doubt it. Not now, not with the heavy inflation. And the inflation is not anywhere near 2 or 3%. Again, you cannot measure inflation in percentage. It's money printing since 1971, which is thousands of percentage. I don't think it even matters what the percent of inflation is. You just look at the prices of things and the value of your dollar is worthless. So keep in mind, the consumer is not just automatically paying the tariffs. That's bullshit. That's by people that are probably Keynesians and idiots and don't know what they're talking about. Some of the goods, maybe. But like I said, with Polo, they want to make this $100. I tell them to fuck off and I go buy Nautica or I go buy Tommy Hilfiger because theirs is cheaper. Maybe they're not buying it from China. Maybe they were smart enough to buy it from Vietnam or India. So that's what a tariff is. It's a price increase. It's a tax. It's all it is. It makes the cost for the manufacturer more just by adding like another sales tax to it. And then it gets passed on. Well, if you're going to raise my cost, I got to raise my price. But the consumer probably going to say, fuck off. I'm not going to buy it because the inflation is making my money worthless. So I can't afford your increase. And if I don't need the product, like I say, if there's competition, well, I can buy instead of this, I'll buy Hilfiger or I'll buy Brooks Brothers. I don't need a Polo player for $20. Screw you. So that's why when they do say it's for the consumer will pay it, that's bullshit. That's not even close. Maybe a few of the items, when you do a price increase, the people will take it. But what generally happens is you do the price increase, like my dark chocolates, you did a price increase from 3 something to 475. Nobody bought it. Finally, they go buy one, get the second one half off. Now it's back down to like 360. Okay, I'll buy a couple of bars at 360, but I'm not paying 475 for it. So there goes your price increase. There goes me paying for your tariffs. Fuck you, I'm not doing it. All right. So I was always buy, and everybody else, always buy physical gold. Do not buy ETFs. Be careful of stocks. Probably not a good idea to buy those now because the market's going to crash because people will realize their dollars are no good and the US dollar is collapsing and they'll want to pull their stocks out of the US dollar back into German and France and Italy and China. And then they don't want those dollars either. They'll just buy gold with it. So gold should go to the moon, but it would buy gold, buy physical, do not buy ETFs, like I say. Anything like that. All right. So let's go back. We didn't do baseball yesterday. Let's go back to 729 where we did baseball. And let's see how poor we did. Terrible day, 728. Let's see, 729. We have we had Detroit. We won. Detroit's now on a 4-game winning streak, beating like Brandon Fat and whoever the hell they beat yesterday. So now they're like, oh, look how we're good again. No, you're not good. You played a bunch of shit teams. You beat a bunch of minor league pitchers. So that's where you belong in the minor leagues. Because when you played good teams, and I'm not saying Pittsburgh's a good team, you got your ass kicked. You couldn't even get a run. So don't tell me you're this great team. The Yankees won 7-5. Max Fried, there you go. We had Milwaukee. Milwaukee won 9-3. We had Kansas City. Kansas City won 9-6. Boy, we're hot. 4-0. Washington. Washington lost 7-4. San Diego under 8.5. That one, they won 7-1. And San Diego won. We had a double there. San Diego and the under. Toronto. I think this was a streak game. And Toronto, I think it was the first game. And Toronto got swept in the doubleheader, so that was a loser. And then Pittsburgh, I think they won. Pittsburgh won 3-1. Awfully good day on the 29th. 1, 2, 3, 3-1, 4-1, 5-1, 5-2, 6-2, 7-2. Now the same theory I used on 7/28 when I went 1-7, I used on 7/29 and I went 7-2. What does it do? It makes my confidence feel good. Now I would have played the Tigers yesterday because of Arizona, but let's move on till today. 7:31. As we get into August, we get into football. We do get football tonight. And I think, see, the NFL has it right. They put it on regular TV. They don't do this bullshit. Although college throws like a game on Apple or a game on Paramount or one of this bullshit, but nobody in their right mind's paying for it. If you want to take the game off of TV and not show it, the only person you hurt is yourself. I want as many people. I could do this with just subscribers, and I know I'd have a lot less viewers. But I open it up to anybody on YouTube wants to watch, can watch, and I can teach them and they can learn. But what the NFL is doing, or what the baseball is doing, is saying, no, you got to buy it. And so there's no popularity, plus your players suck. The NFL is pretty much on normal TV, 90%. Once in a while, you have the NFL Network or these stupid games from Germany or England that nobody gives a fuck because it's Jacksonville. Like, why does Jacksonville keep going to London? I assume they pay them more than they get at home because nobody shows up for their crap TV, for their crap games. But that's kind of what I'm looking at. All right, the 31st. We got a 1 o'clock game. It's 12 o'clock. Okay. Tampa Bay at the Yankees. Now, we'll go through streaks. Well, let's go through streaks now, and then we'll go through it. And then we can look at the trade deadline, which who gives a fuck? They're all a bunch of minor leaguers who gets traded. Let's see, who's on a streak? Detroit's now on a 4-game streak. Baltimore is over. Most of the rest are National League. And that's it. So only Detroit on a 4-game winning streak in the American League. In the National League, the Mets are on a 3-game losing streak. We won't put them in. Pittsburgh's on a 5-game win streak. Very good for Pitt. San Diego's on a 5-game win streak. Very good for San Diego. Frisco's on a 6-game losing streak. Okay, we got them. Arizona's on a 5-game losing streak. They've been playing the Tigers, who've been beating them. So we got Arizona on the losing streak, Frisco on the losing streak, San Diego and Pitt on winning streaks. Washington is now over. They were on a 3-game win streak. Houston on a 5-game losing streak. Looks like that. Oh, that's American League. Obviously, that's over. Yeah, Houston's gone. Okay, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 streaks. Detroit 4-game winning streak. Pitt 5-game winning streak. San Diego 5-game winning streak. San Francisco 6-game losing streak. And then Atlanta and Arizona on a 5-game losing streak. So you can see how it ebbs and flows. That's why I like starting with 3, because I think I can get teams to go to a 10-game streak, but that's about it. And they'll face an ace or they won't. So if they're on a winning streak, they'll face an ace and lose. And if they're on a losing streak, their ace will pitch and then they'll win. So it's hard to get. You got to be careful when the ace pitches, but once the ace pitches and the streak is intact, then you can keep going with it because the morale is demoralized. I looked at Arizona and they just don't have any hitters anymore. They used to have 6, 7 hitters. They got like 3 hitters now. I don't know if it's injuries or trade. So with that said, let's take a quick look at the trade deadline and see if there was any deals. I think let's see. Padres trade for Mason Miller. I have no idea who that is. Shane Bieber goes to the Blue Jays. I have no idea. I kind of heard the name, but I don't know who he is. The biggest moves began on Wednesday. Seattle added another Diamondback infielder, this time reuniting with third baseman Suarez, never heard of, to add a major power threat in the lineup. Really? Meanwhile, the Reds added a Gold Glove third baseman in Brian Hayes and a solid starting pitcher in Zach Littell. Okay. Both contenders in the NL East made major bullpen moves. Philadelphia got all-star closer Johan Duran from Minnesota, but the Mets responded with quantity, landing Ryan Hesley from the Cardinals, Tyler Rogers from San Francisco, and Greg Soto from Baltimore. I have no idea who them are. The Cy Young Award winner is changing teams at the deadline as Toronto acquired Shane Bieber. He won a Cy Young. Never heard of him, from the Cleveland Guardians. And the San Diego Padres finally made a splash with a trade for A's closer Mason Miller, never heard of, as well as J.P. Sears, who sucks. The A's will reportedly receive shortstop in a trade. With 1 day left to go, there are still plenty of moves to be made. The Dodgers, Houston, Milwaukee have been conspicuously quiet. Names on the board: Stephen Kwan, Mason Miller. Well, he's gone. Sandy Alcantara, he's terrible. And Mackenzie Gore or Joe Ryan are both terrible. The deadline is 6 p.m. tonight. Okay. Good to know. We'll talk about that tomorrow. Really nothing. See, here's my problem with baseball. The problem I have with baseball is when I talk football, when I talk some sport, mostly baseball, it's you're signing the high school guy, like Michigan. They signed Underwear, the quarterback, who's really good against high school players. He's not going to play 15, 16, 17-year-old kids. He's going to play 19, 20, 21, 22-year-old men who have bulked up. So how do you think Underwear is going to do for Michigan as a quarterback? Well, he was great against high school kids. I hate when they do that in baseball and they sign a guy who's a good high school pitcher. Who the hell knows? He's facing high school pitchers, hitters, and the same thing with high school batters. I would take guys out of college. Forget the high school stuff. You have a couple of high school players: Moses Malone, LeBron, Kobe were out of high school. Well, Kobe actually went to Greece and played there for a few years, so he wasn't really out of high school. He just didn't go to college. That worked out well for him. But in baseball, my point is, you've got guys playing AA or AAA, and you're trading away your player who's in the major leagues, who probably sucks, for a minor league prospect. And you're trying to tell me the guy who's playing AA is any good. And I'm saying he's not. If he was any good, he wouldn't be playing double A or triple A. If he was any good, he wouldn't be playing triple A. Mantle played like a half a year in 1951 in Oklahoma, right? And you could see how good he was. And then he went up and he sucked his first couple of months, and then he finally settled down. But that's Mickey Mantle. So most of these guys you can tell right away, and they're not in the minor leagues long. So anybody who's a couple years in the minor leagues and you trade for him to get prospects is a joke, because the odds on the prospect working out and becoming legitimate all-stars are zero. Maybe they make your team as the backup third baseman, hitting 220. That's probably what happens. So why do you trade? And I go back to the Tigers just giving away Verlander and Scherzer and JD Martinez for absolutely nothing. And I thought that was appalling. And I thought that was really stupid. See, the Tigers have now, when Illich died, the son took over, and he's just cheap. He won't pay. So he won't pay for Skubal, but his stars he doesn't pay. Ricky Green doesn't even make $1 million a year. He'll leave. They'll all leave. It's like the Lions. They don't want to pay their players, so they leave and go get paid. So the Tigers have all this bullshit talent, minor league talent, and they won't pay anybody. So they won't pay Skubal. So they should trade him and get some pitching for him to replace him, which they won't do. They'll give them away for nothing for prospects that are bullshit. And then I love how on the radio they're saying, well, the Tigers have the fifth best prospect in baseball. What does that mean? Nothing. Who's grading them fifth best? Who knows? Does that mean anything? No. Is the guy hitting 350? No. Then he's not any good. If he can't hit minor league pitching, he's not going to hit major league pitching, although we know major league sucks. So this is this whole trade deadline. You trade a player, obviously he sucks, or you wouldn't trade him for a prospect, right? You're basically giving him out, and then you're hoping this prospect can be a little bit of a value on the team. And that shows me that all these little transactions are guys that suck. None of them are any good, because if the team liked them, they wouldn't get rid of them. I don't understand why the team like a Baltimore, who's not in a playoff thing, gets rid of their players. Or if they're good, why are you getting rid of them? What are you getting rid of them for? Well, I'm getting prospects. Why do you need prospects? You didn't sign your other prospects. You had a great team last year, and then you let all the guys go. So what are you trading for? Oh, you're just being cheap. You don't want to pay because you think it's a business. You're not trying to win. So the Tigers aren't trying to win. Baltimore, all these teams that are letting people go aren't trying to win. It's just a money thing. Remember that. All right. So with that said, let's look at today's games. 105, it's 12:25. Okay, we got Tampa at the Yankees. We got Tampa minus 118, 8.5. Ryan Peapot, who pitches like every other day, 6-8 with the 3.42 against Marcus Stroman, 2-2 with the 6.09. Who's pitching better? I say thank you. I'm not interested. There's nothing in the American League but Detroit. Okay. Atlanta, Cincinnati. Wow, there's only 3 games today. This is unbelievable. Atlanta, Cincinnati. Cincinnati 185-9. Carlos Carrasco 2-2 with the 5.91 against Andrew Abbott. Here's their stud, 8-1 with the 2.09. Do I have anything on Atlanta or Cincinnati? No, we're taking Cincinnati 2 units with their ace, Andrew Abbott, 8-1 with the 2.09. And the other game, Texas and Seattle, we have nothing there. Texas was hot. Seattle 187.5. Kumar Rocker 4-4 with the 5.73 against General George Kirby from Commando, 5-5 with the 4.50. 2 shitty pitchers. Seattle. I'm not quite sure why it's an under, so we're going to go over here. We're going to go Seattle over 7.5. We'll go 2 units. So we only have 3 games, I believe. I don't know why we only have 3 games. How do you only have 3 games? Too many days off. I mean, Detroit gets like a day off a week. So there's no Detroit, there's no Pitt, there's no San Diego, there's no San Francisco, and there's no Arizona. All right. So we're going to avoid the Yankee game because we don't know. And then tonight we got Cincinnati with their good pitcher, Abbott, and Texas, Seattle with two bad pitchers. So we're going to go over because it's only 7.5, which makes no sense. So just two games. So we had a really good day yesterday, and on the 28th, we were 1-7. So we go 1-7, 7-2. So overall, we're 8-9. Okay, so one good day, one bad, and it's amazing is you had the same theory. So you come up with a theory of how to pick, how to bet stocks, why buy gold. Gold is not a theory. Gold is just we're using facts. We're using knowledge. We're using the dollar's not worth anything. Your only option's gold, and that's real money. And we're fighting the evil forces of the comex who want to keep the price down, and London, who for some reason don't want gold to go up. They want you to buy Bitcoin or stocks or whatever, which makes zero sense why it's not just treated as an asset. But anyway, we're waiting for the ship to take off. It took off a little, went from 2,000 to 3,300. We get that. Let's see. We got a football game tonight. We have, I guess, Detroit 3-point favorites. Let's see. We got Detroit 1.5, 33.5. Now, I know Hooker's playing a half. San Diego's got terrible backup quarter. They've got Uglia Buglia. Can you believe a professional team has watched Uglia Buglia suck at Clemson, suck at Oregon State, suck at Florida State, yet the San Diego deems it, let's take a look at them. I have to question the GM on San Diego if he has any signs of intelligence at all, which I assume he doesn't. I think he's just a fucking idiot. I don't get what he's doing. So Detroit's 1.5, 33.5, and none of their players are playing apparently. I assume for both teams. I don't know why you're missing this opportunity. It's like I have the opportunity to play golf at Pebble Beach, and no, I'm not going to play. I might get hurt. I mean, you have an opportunity to play in a real game. Why would you turn it down? This is what I got to wonder about the coach, and I got to wonder, like, this injury thing. Who's really calling the shots? It's embarrassing to call this football. They're just going through the motions and not trying. Tells me that Detroit's a losing franchise, a losing coach, losing team. You have new coordinators. You should be working your guys into the new coordinators, first of all. That's critical that the offense gets used to the new offensive coordinator and the defense in game situations. How do you not do that? Are you out of your fucking mind? That's why I question the coach. He might be good at getting the players up for the game, but he's lousy in the game, going for fourth downs, not kicking field goals, not punting, not having any, we need to run against Washington, not having any ideas on game planning. So this is what you have. So, yeah, the Lions look good against weak teams. So did the Tigers. Put them in against a good team, they get slaughtered. And Washington slaughtered them last year, Buffalo. So it was just, Detroit's good at beating Jacksonville and Tennessee. Yeah, okay. Oh, but you don't play the shit teams this year. So let's watch them get destroyed. Like I said, I think Detroit, I have them for 9 wins. I think that's the best they can do is 9. They're not going to beat Philly, KC, Buffalo, Baltimore, none of those. Philadelphia, they don't have a chance. I'm not sure they could beat the Giants, who have Scatterboo and that. Why don't we look at week 1? Why don't we just take a quick look at that, and then we'll get into some bricks and all that fun stuff. So Dallas, Philly's 746.5. Now it's always the ring ceremony. Who the fuck knows if that means anything? Um, Now, Philly, they hate Dallas, so they should be motivated. Dallas has Dak Prescott. That's a huge trouble. Dallas can't recognize that they have Dak Prescott, that he stinks, which always blows my mind how the Giants couldn't tell Daniel Jones sucked, or some of these teams, Sam Darnold on the Jets, and they did like Josh Rosen, where they got rid of him. So it's just amazing. Some of these players they don't realize suck. Are they that blind to it? So Philly is 746.5. I don't think the number's changed. I think Philly's defense comes to play. Dak, at least 2 interceptions. Pickens is not going to help because you had CeeDee Lamb. You're going to throw him all the balls anyway. So look for Philly. Again, it's all Barkley. Jalen Hurts, sorry, he's not very good. The next day, Kansas City, LA in Brazil. LA, are they going to start Uglia Buglia? This is amazing. If Uglia Buglia gets in, we are mortgaging anything we have to bet against San Diego with Uglia Buglia. KC and San Diego. KC 2.5, 45.5. KC should be tired from going and playing these extra games, including the Super Bowl, and you get hyped up for it. So emotionally, you're flat by now. That's why the regular season is going to be tough for them. I think they beat San Diego, at least with 3.5. They should be good. 45.5, probably an under game, both teams with excellent defenses. Carolina, Jacksonville, 2 of the worst teams in the league, 2 of the worst quarterbacks in the league. Steve Young against Trevor Lawrence. How he was the number 1 pick. That's probably why Urban Meyer quit. Like, if you're giving me this guy, I can't coach him. He's a terrible quarterback. He likes to run a little bit. He's just terrible. Jacksonville, 2.5, 46. I'm not sure how they're favored, but I can't bet Carolina. Both teams suck. Giants at Washington. Washington 6.5, 45.5. This won't be as easy as you think because Russell Wilson and Scatterboo will make the Giants score a little bit. Their defense was okay. Washington's weak defensively. So I think this will be an offensive type of game. Pitt and the Jets. Why Pitt is only a 3-point favorite with Aaron Rodgers going against Fields. I looked at the defensive coordinator as the guy from the Niners who let Kansas City win the Super Bowl, and the Lions scored 31 points on the Niners. He was the Niners defensive coordinator who got fired last year. He's on the Jets. We know he stinks. He couldn't do anything with the Niners. And the Jets head coach is terrible. This guy from Detroit who was a terrible defensive coordinator. They gave up over 30 a game. So again, it's like Matt Patricia. Why do you keep hiring him as a defensive coordinator? At what point do you think he's a good defensive coordinator? It was always Bill Belichick at New England. Look for Ohio State to have problems this year. But again, with Fields, no running, I don't see the Jets doing anything. I can't believe this spread's not more than 3. This is a joke. Arizona, New Orleans. We're waiting on New Orleans quarterback. Hopefully Jake Haener's the best one they got. Arizona, Kyler Murray is always like, does he have a good game or does he have a bad game? I can never take Arizona here as a road favorite. They're not a good road favorite. New Orleans at home plays pretty good. We'll see. They got Olavi and they got Kamara. So they got the best 2 players on the field. Oakland at New England. New England 3, 42.5. Gotta love Oakland as a live dog here. Why is New England favored? And that means they got to win by 9. And where's New England getting 9 points? Max Crosby will disrupt. Drake May can run a little bit, but we've seen that show. It never works. Not a good thrower. Wasn't a good thrower at North Carolina. I don't understand how he was a first-round pick. Oh, because he's athletic. Gee, yeah, they always were. I don't understand the whole concept now. We want athletic quarterbacks because our line's so bad or they blitz a lot. Well, if they know how to read the blitz, they don't need an athletic quarterback. So I don't see how New England even wins this game more or less by 9. Miami at Indy, I don't know who Indy's quarterback is, and Miami Tag is terrible. If he stays healthy the whole game, best player in the field is Tyreek Hill. Miami's coach is terrible. Indy's coach, I think it's another new one. I have no idea. If Richardson plays, it's an over. If he doesn't, I don't know. Then you got Daniel Jones. Yeah, you want to bet on him again? See, that's what amazes me is Indy would take Daniel Jones because he's got experience, but his experience sucks. Why would I? You're better off with Trask from Tampa or Hooker from Detroit. At least these guys won big games. I don't understand. Daniel Jones hasn't done shit. Why are you? Well, so you can do shit at Indy? Do you not? Is this? But you gotta. Maybe they don't have to pay his contract, so it's just Indy being cheap. Probably my guess. But he sucks. Richardson sucks. Tag not very good if when he's healthy. Cincinnati, Cleveland. Look for Joe Burrow to be pissed off this year. From what I can see, Hendrickson, I think he's signed, and the other guy signed. Henderson is going to practice, but he's not playing until he gets his contract. I don't get it. He's got like a $15 million contract. If somebody offered you $15 million to go work, would you not go work? So he's not going to play, but he is at practice. So I don't get it. You got Joe Burrow and Chase on your team. You're going to win every game if you play. What the fuck are you doing? And then you'll get your payday after your contract's over. But you signed a contract, buddy. So you're not very good. I think Cincinnati is not going to lose. They got into a hole 0-3 last year, but a lot wasn't their fault. They should have beat KC on the worst pass interference call or roughing the quarterback call. And then they should have had the second game. So look for Cincy to come out strong. Tampa Bay and Atlanta. Tampa 1.5, 48.5. They're not giving respect to Penix. Penix is outstanding. I don't quite get it. Atlanta should be a 3-point favorite. You got a very live home dog here in Atlanta. The 49ers in Seattle. Frisco's 1.5, 45.5. Should be 3 or 4. Look for Frisco to be pissed. They got McCaffrey back. It's a big difference. No McCaffrey? Yes, McCaffrey. They might have lost Deebo Samuel, which sucks, and they don't really have a replacement. This Pascal from Florida stinks. I never understood why they drafted him. He wasn't any good at Florida. So, but I think Frisco's defense plays well. They fired their defensive coordinator who sucked last year or 2 years ago. No, they fired him after they lost to KC. So last year they had another one who wasn't very good. So we'll see. But who does Seattle have? I mean, they got no quarterback, Darnold. They got no receivers, and they got a running back. I think Cooper Kupp joined them with Smith Najimba. So Cooper Kupp was good, but he's always injured. So I don't know. But you don't have a quarterback anyway. Look for the Niners to start off big. Tennessee, Denver, 7.5, 41.5. This should be a blowout. Cam Ward, really? Oh, okay. Yeah, good luck on that. I don't buy that. All of a sudden, if he's good in college, he's going to be good in pro, even though his first few years at Washington State, he sucked. Well, he went to Miami, and they did gimmicky offenses, so all of a sudden he's good? No, he's not good. Bo Nix, I like. Look for Denver in a route here. Houston and LA, very good defense in Houston. Very good team in the Rams, good defense. Stafford, good receivers. Adams and Pukanuka, good running back. I think this is a close game because Houston's defense will keep minute. C.J. Stroud, sorry boys, he's not all there. Look for the Rams to win by a field goal. Detroit, Green Bay, 1.5, 49.5. Detroit's got problems, no coordinators. They don't want to play during the preseason, and they got Jared Goff. So, and they lost their center, and Hutchinson, I doubt will play. Oh, but he's in training camp. Yeah, watch him play in a game. He won't. You can't break your leg and recover before 12 months. We already saw it with Cam Rising. It doesn't happen. Green Bay's favored, I assume, because Hutchinson and then the center retired because of injuries. You've lost the coordinator. So we got to be careful with Detroit the first 2 or 3 games. This would be an easy Detroit as a dog, but I think it's this game's an over because neither team has a defense. Baltimore, Buffalo, 1.5, 52.5, and just what I just said. Look for an over. Neither team has a defense, and they both can light it up. So I think they will light it up. And Minnesota, Chicago, why are the Bears favored? You have Caleb. You have a new coach that's never coached before. You have a killer defense going against Vikings, who doesn't have a quarterback. It's got a killer defense, and you got Justin Jefferson. So I think this is an under. I don't see where the points are coming from. Caleb stinks. Darnold, with Darnold, fine, but J.J. McCarthy, you're going with the guy who's never thrown a pass. Let's see in the box score if he plays in the preseason. These practices are not the same as the preseason. So, well, we don't want to get him hurt. What are you going to do week 1? Not get him hurt? It's so stupid. Let him get used to the traffic. Let him get used to it. Yes, I know last year he hurt his knee in the preseason. Let him learn from it. Let him be more careful in the pocket. But he hurt his knee at Michigan. That's the second knee operation the guy's had in a couple of years. He's very injury prone. The Penn State game, when they ran the whole second half, he got injured. This guy is an injury prone guy. I think Minnesota made a huge mistake letting Darnold go. They should trade for Trask at Tampa or Herndon Hooker from Detroit is much better than just J.J. McCarthy. But they don't want to admit they're wrong. So we'll have to watch Daniel Jones for 5 years going, yeah, he sucks. Yeah, no. Let's keep playing him because we couldn't make a mistake. I find that's the biggest problem. These guys are scared to say they made a mistake. So that's week 1 in the NFL. We'll do college maybe tomorrow. Hello?
Hi, is this Howard?
Yeah.
Hi, Howard. You're looking for some flooring remodel or bathroom remodeling?
I don't know where you guys get this stuff. I am not looking for that. So I don't know where it comes from, but no, I'm not. Thank you very much. What is that? Flooring remodeling. I didn't ask for that. All right. Here's one I haven't watched yet. Don't eat these burgers from these 8 chains. Well, I don't eat. The only time I go is if I maybe get a burger from a Coney or something. You're eating fake meat. And this is what you got to be careful of. Everything's not what it seems to be. That's why you got to eat veggies. And if you do eat chicken or burgers, I'm getting the grass-fed burgers. But that's why you go get but I'm worried about regular. If I go to the grocery store and I get 3 pounds of regular hamburger, I'm really worried what I'm eating. Is it hamburger? So I don't know. So I am scared when I see this, but I will watch that later. Well, let's go into it and see if they give us the list.
States just quietly pulled off something the rest of the country hasn't. I don't know how Michigan was.
Yeah, we don't care. All right, let's read some comments. Most people over 50 can't afford to eat out anymore. Sonic and White Castle using pre-cooked frozen patties and even moldy buns makes me rethink fast food entirely. Interesting video. So now why don't you do the same thing in Canada, Great Britain, Australia, New Zealand? I asked because when I visited the U.S., the food there was a far cry from what I got at home. Yes. Well, that's why it's Argentina. Australian beef has much stricter standards than American. I like the Argentinian beef that I show you on my things. So where is the list? Everybody's saying I cook it. Usually they'll give you a list. Big Mac. Well, we know McDonald's is terrible. I do not eat at Jack's, Burger King, Wendy's, McDonald's, Chinese, Checkers, Taco Bell, White Castle. So it's the normal bullshit restaurants. So just stay away from the fast food. I think if you eat at a sit-down restaurant like my barbecue restaurant or like a Coney, I think you're okay. There's a lot of Douglas McGregor. Here's one on Zelensky getting replaced. So apparently, you've got to understand the way it's working is MI6 and MI5, the British Secret Service and the CIA are running everything. So they put in Zelensky. So Britain, the MI6 want to take Zelensky out and put in a new guy. This is how bad the world is when these guys are being replaced, but the people of the country aren't the ones replacing it. What the fuck is the MI6 or CIA doing saying, well, you're going to be the leader of the Ukraine? What is that? Well, that's because they're friendly with the US or England. This is where it's really getting frustrating is England is basically running this war in these countries. They think it's still the English empire, and the US kind of falls in line with what the UK say. And that's why you see Putin and Z just telling them to fuck off. Like you're not telling us. See, when they killed Gaddafi and Saddam Hussein for trying to go on a gold standard, they were able to do it because these were small countries. They can't do that with Xi and Putin. They want to stop BRICS from going on the gold standard because that's the end of the dollar and the British pound's already dead. And that's what happens. So they can't do that because these countries are too big. And so that's why the dollar will end. And that's why the gold comes back because the gold, you can't. In other words, with the US dollar, they can print as much as they want and basically kill the dollar. And they can go to war and we'll just keep printing and printing and printing. And without knowing that you can't do that, it bankrupts you. So let's see. Let's see. So first I want to show you this diabetes one, then we'll get into the war.
How do you make the pink salt recipe Rebel Wilson used to lose weight? I swear, if one more person asks me that,
have glucose in your body, but if all develop much faster. But can it happen in a week? Let's talk about these time frames a little bit more and understand signs and symptoms. So a sign is something someone else can observe, like a doctor can.
This is diabetes.
Or check
just a few
something
minutes
on you. That's a sign. A symptom is something that you experience. So they're kind of similar, but one is objective and one is subjective. Now, signs and symptoms are the last thing to show that there's a disease process that goes on for a long, long time in many cases before you have any signs and symptoms. And these are physiological changes that the way your body operates, the pathways and the piping, it changes. And we also want to understand the difference between disease and dis-ease. That in holistic health, we often make a distinction because in medical terms, they like to talk about disease and they think about things that are broken and things that are infected. Like we get an infection, we have a disease, or where body parts break and don't function or don't do their job anymore. But dis-ease is the lack of ease, the lack of balance, the lack of equilibrium and homeostasis and proper function. So ease is when we're in harmony, and dis-ease when we're leaving that harmony. So it's not as black and white as disease, it's more of a grayscale. And historically, I believe that we suffered a lot more from disease, things that were more black and white. We had infections, we died from pneumonia and diphtheria and infections and plague and starvation, whereas today we die more from long-term imbalances, that most of the metabolic syndromes, most of the degeneration is more of a dis-ease, actually. Another word for that is an adaptation, that when our environment changes, your body adapts to it. And that is always a good thing. The body does that for a reason, but if we keep pushing the body in certain ways long enough, then those adaptations might seem like they're a bad thing. So let me give you some examples here. That if you live at high altitude, your body will adapt. If you live really high, like 10, 15,000 feet, then the air is much thinner. There's less oxygen in the air, but your body needs oxygen. So the body needs to compensate. It needs to adapt. So the kidneys sense that there's less oxygen in the blood coming through. And then it makes a hormone called EPO, or erythropoietin. Don't worry about the name. The kidney does something so that this hormone can stimulate the production of more red blood cells. With more red blood cells, you can absorb more, a greater percentage of the oxygen in the air when there is less oxygen in the air. So your body adapts and you can function even though you live in a place where there is less oxygen available. Brilliant. Exercise is another form of adaptation, that if you put your body through work, if you put tension on your muscles, for example, if you're a bodybuilder, then the body says, hey, this was really painful. I'd better do something to compensate. If he's going to do this again tomorrow, I'm going to be better prepared. So let me build bigger muscles, all right? So there's a disease called polycythemia, meaning we have too many blood cells. And that's where we have too many blood cells for the wrong reasons. But if we have more blood cells because of altitude, then that's a proper adaptation. And virtually all adaptations are proper. So we never go to a bodybuilder and say, hey, there must be something wrong with you. You look all swollen. No, those muscles are there because they're compensating, they're adapting to the increased workload. But here's the thing, diabetes is also an adaptation. So here is a cell, and the cell performs work. It's the metabolic machinery. It uses fuel, it has enzymes, and it makes energy out of that. Now over here, we have a blood vessel. So when you eat food, you chew it, you digest it, you have enzymes in your digestive tract to break down the food. But this food can't do anything for you until it gets into the cell. And that's the role of insulin. So as we eat food, the blood sugar goes up and then insulin rises to bring that glucose into the cell. And now that cell can perform work and it's very happy. Then we eat again and the process continues. Now, if we do this the way we have done it for as long as humans have been around, for eons, then we've eaten a certain way and this has balanced itself out. But in the last 50 years, we've started eating more frequently. We've added something called sugar in mass. It's not something we have once in a while. It's one of the big food groups, so to speak, unfortunately. So we eat sugar, we eat grains, we eat processed grains, we eat processed foods, and we start eating more snacks and we start having sugary drinks. Now what happens is that blood sugar rises many times a day. We might eat 3 meals and have 3 snacks, but then we keep chewing on something in between too. So a lot of people will have blood sugar spikes 20 times a day.
Really?
Okay, here's what sugar spikes 20 times a day. And now we have insulin spikes 20 times a day. So now it's like we come knocking on the door of the cell 20 times a day. And eventually the cell says, hey, I just need stuff a couple of times a day, not 20. So it starts resisting insulin. And that's insulin resistant. That's an adaptation. When we put too much stuff in, when we put more in that it can reasonably use, then it's going to develop a resistance. So now it blocks the action of insulin. Insulin doesn't work the same, so the body has to make more. And now we're in a vicious cycle where insulin gets even higher, it keeps knocking even harder, the cell starts resisting even more. That is an adaptation. So now with that in mind, let's compare type 1 and type 2 diabetes. And type 1 is not an adaptation. Type 1, in a sense, is something you can get it. If you're unfortunate with circumstances that you might be stressed, you might have a genetic predisposition, you might get an infection, that there are certain conditions that when they combine in an unfortunate way, now you develop an autoimmune attack. And no one knows exactly why this happens, but they know some of these factors that are probably involved. And once you get it, and this autoimmune attack has actually broken down, it chewed up the cells that make insulin, now there are no cells, so now you have it. You have a condition. If you remember, I started out saying that there's a type of diabetes you can have and another one that you can't really have. Even though we talk about having type 2 diabetes, that's not really how we want to think about it. So type 1, unfortunately, you can get it and you can have it. Type 2 is a totally different animal. It is an adaptation, just like we talked about over here. When we do that process, when we push that process too far, the cell adapts, it becomes insulin resistance. So it's something that we develop. And if we truly understand that it is an adaptation, that is something the body does in response to something, and we develop it, we also can understand that if we want to keep our type 2 diabetes, we have to maintain it. And I'm saying that sort of jokingly because, of course, nobody wants to maintain their diabetes. But still, if you stop maintaining it, it will go away. Unfortunately, it's very, very simple. It's not all that easy, mostly because of habits, mostly because of bad information. We're told to eat low fat and high carb and that sugar in moderation is okay, which it's not for people with type 2 diabetes. Once you have developed this adaptation, then you need to back off much more than someone who is just trying to maintain a healthy level. So there are lifestyle issues. We're told to eat wrong things. We have habits, we have cravings. But the fact of the matter is that if you stop maintaining it, then it will go away. Sign number 3 is unwanted weight loss. And this would be...
So did you get that? It's an adaptation. So if we stop eating sugar and we eat veggies and we eat steaks and we eat chicken and we stop eating a lot of carbs, a lot of sugar and things like that, you will lose diabetes, type 2 diabetes. That's what I did. I go to the doctor And he said, "Oh, you got diabetes." Now he doesn't, I don't even know what it is. So I find this doctor and he says, "Oh, you can get rid of it." And what he said, he explained it as eating. It's high sugar, it's high blood sugar. You got to stop eating high fructose corn syrup and stay away from carbs and cakes and yogurt and Lucky Charms and Oreos and all that stuff, and it'll go away. My blood pressure was 180 and it dropped to 120. Took me about 6 to 8 months. You had to change habits, so I threw out my barbecue sauce, my ketchups, my salad dressing. Anything from Kraft is terrible. And I went to Ken's salad dressing, which has no high fructose corn syrup, and I don't use Miracle Whip anymore. I use Thousand Island Ken's dressing for my tuna, and it's an omelet every day with a lot of veggies. So I'm basically going to the grocery store getting veggies, broccoli, cauliflower, salads, zucchini, red and yellow peppers, mushrooms, and that's what I'm eating. I have a salad, and then I have that in my omelet, and that's what I eat. And I don't eat. I try to stay away from high fructose corn syrup and fried foods. And that's what I eat. When I go to a barbecue, I take my Ken's French dressing and no barbecue sauce, and I pour that on my ribs or my chicken or my salad, and that's what I eat. And by getting rid of the high fructose corn syrup, I lost my weight and my blood pressure went down to 120. So as he's saying, it's adapted. So I changed my eating, got rid of the high fructose corn syrup, got rid of the sugars, got rid of the carbs. I haven't had cereal. I used to eat Cheerios all the time or Wheat Chex. I don't even go to the cereal aisle. I very rarely get cookies. If I do, it's those little 3 packs of Oreos once in a blue moon. No, if I go get a hamburger, I'm pretty much getting rid of the bun or taking just the top of the bun and breaking it in half and using that as my bun, but not a lot. So now I'll probably have a salad for lunch. I took my grass-fed hamburger out. I'll cook for dinner. Probably the worst thing I have is pita bread, which is a little bit of carbs, but not a lot. But I don't eat Wonder Bread or any of that. Now when I go out to eat at like a Coney, I've been getting the 3 egg omelets with bacon, as opposed to like the toast. I don't really want the hash browns. I'll eat once in a while, but I really don't want to eat that. But try to stay away from fries. It's just really your eating habits. Just stay away from the carbs, which are bread, which are yogurt, and cereal and things like that. You just stay away from that and the Oreo cookies and the M&Ms. Now I eat dark chocolate, which is not a lot of sugar. It's cocoa. And if I want anything sweet, I'll have cinnamon or honey, which is very healthy for you. Ginger. So you kind of switch to, eat an avocado every day, which is the healthiest thing you could possibly eat. So I thin down and I just maintain it. I try not to eat. That's why you see me eating a lot, is because I try not to eat till 11:30 here. But I don't know when to do it. If I do the show at 10, I'm too hungry by noon. So I do the show around 11, but I'm eating because I'm waiting to eat. I don't eat breakfast. When I go to work, when I'm working, if I get this Ford job, I'll have a coffee, but I won't have any sugar or sugar substitute in it. So that's really the key, is just understanding. It's the key to investing. It's the key to betting football or craps or poker. It's the key to women, is understanding it. What type of girl is this? What does she like and not like? And just talking to her. And you might not like her, you might like her. So anyway, that's what the diabetes. So it's high blood sugar, and you get it from the carbs and the sugar. Do not eat regular pop. Probably don't want to have diet pop because of the processed stuff in it. And you stay away from the M&Ms and the Kit Kats and stuff and Oreos, and just have regular food. That's why it's like, just go buy a bunch of veggies and meat and eggs, and that's your you know, an omelet for lunch and steak for dinner with a salad, and you're fine. Put some veggies in your omelet. Tastes very good. And then you're fine. And then you're healthy. I've never had insulin. I see a guy at the club with a patch of insulin. I just shake my head at him. I go, you got to stop that, because the cell, as he showed you, is full of insulin. If you pump it in, you can't get it in the cell. The cell doesn't want it. Your problem is eating. That's your problem and he's a fat guy, and his problem is he eats probably too much sweets and all that stuff. Because if he didn't, he'd be thin. So I walk around. I don't have much of a stomach, a little one once in a while, but pretty much I've been maintaining. And I see these real heavy guys, and I go, "You got diabetes," and they don't know what it is. Or I says, if you fast, the key's to fasting, because if you fast, when I do my 72-hour fast, it's my body eating up my fat that does it, and it eats up all the bad cells, so it makes it much. I'm much healthier, and I'm not really trying to lose weight. I'm trying to get rid of some fat I might have put on, and I'm just trying to clean up the house. So there's a cleaner called photography that comes in after 18 hours, and your body just goes to work, and it's like a maid coming to clean your kitchen. They just wash the floors, wash the dishes, wash everything. And that's what you're doing with the photography. That's the key to the fat. So the fasting's the last part of the getting rid of the diabetes. And it's not hard. You just skip a meal. Today's Thursday. Just don't eat today. And then tomorrow you'll wake up a little, you won't even be hungry. You're more hungry today. You'll be expecting dinner because that's your routine. If you don't get it, now you start a new routine where, I'm not getting food, and your body adjusts and adapts, and you're not really that hungry. Tomorrow you have some water and some tea. Put lemon in. I put lemon and cinnamon in mine, and it gives me a taste. And then that's how you get over all the stuff. Most of the stuff you get is because you're eating crap. You're eating sweets. You're eating chocolate. You're eating carbs. You're having Wonder Bread. You're having Wheat Checks or Lucky Charms or Oreos or Pop-Tart. You got to just get rid of the carbs. That's all carbs. And the processed food you got to get rid of. Don't go to McDonald's or Wendy's or Burger King, all that shit. You're not even eating, as they said, you're not even eating real meat. Go to the grocery store, get some hamburger and cook it. Doesn't take, like I get a pound, I cooked 4 hamburgers. So that's 4 meals, not one. And it doesn't take long. It's like 6 minutes, flip it, 6 minutes, and you're basically done. And so I'll do that tonight. I'll make my grass-fed burgers. In the meantime, I'll have an omelet when we're done here. And that'll keep you healthy. You won't have strokes. You won't have heart problems. Your kidneys will be fine. If you do have pain, just do a couple-day fast, and your body heals it, just like a broken leg, broken arm. Your body heals it. Well, why does it do that? Because it's what it does. The body will heal you. So let your body get out of the way. Let your body heal yourself. So that's your diabetes. All right. Let's see. Zelensky getting replaced. To all Americans, the world is in danger. All right. Well, let's go to U.S. military mobilizing, which it isn't because we don't have an army.
Why don't you own an apartment building? And I'm serious right now. Let me show you a path that could change.
Shut the fuck up.
Hi, everyone. Judge Andrew Napolitano here for Judging Freedom. Today is Wednesday, July 30th, 2025. My dear friend, Colonel Douglas McGregor, joins us now. Colonel McGregor, always a pleasure, and thank you.
He's pretty honest. This Jack Keane and a lot of these guys on CNBC or Fox are just idiots. They're just paid by the military to say, hey, we're the greatest. This guy's pretty independent. Seems pretty honest. And unless he's talking gold and crypto, he doesn't know what he's talking about. Oh, we shouldn't hoard gold and should buy. No, he don't listen to him for that. But for military and strategy, he's worth listening to. He's the best. There's one other guy I found who I would listen to, go, okay, that makes sense.
Thank you very much for your time. Before we get to the comments by General Donahue, about the effectiveness, in his opinion, of American ground troops in Russia. I want to ask you about a number of other things that have happened more recently than General Donohue's comments. On Monday, President Trump issued a threat to President Putin saying if the special military operation isn't over in 10 to 12 days, I don't know the significance of that number, but this is what the president said, we will impose secondary sanctions on the countries that buy oil from you. How does this advance the ball, if at all, of relations between the United States and Russia?
Well, it doesn't, obviously. And it seems that we have abandoned any notion of trying to improve our relations with the Russians. There was an article that was penned by this former Russian general, Dmitry Trenin, that published ultimately on the website at RT. And he does a good job of addressing this, essentially repeating something that Putin has largely said. It doesn't make any difference what we do. It doesn't make any difference what we say. We're going to continue to be the target of abuse for the West in perpetuity. And so we might as well get accustomed to it. Don't look for any change in sanctions or economic policy, and prepare to fight the long war, if you will. So I think that's really what this is all about. And again, go back to candidate Trump and the kinds of things he said when he was running for office. And they're 180 degrees out from the things that he's now doing. I think he's been handed a script by his handlers, the people that represent his donors, and told this is what you're going to do. And I think he likes threatening, other countries, other people. It's his nature. He thinks bullying works.
The response of the Chinese was very telling, and it was bad. I mean, you and I emailed about this. It was basically, forget about it. Don't try and intimidate us. You want to raise the prices of goods that Americans pay? Go right ahead and do it. It's like the Chinese politicians have a better understanding of economics 101 than the president does. Who pays these sales taxes? Well, the Americans that purchase the foreign goods do.
That's right. Yeah, it's entirely on us. And I think that will eventually hit home with Americans. They'll begin to question why they have to pay.
And that's what I started the class with, is that not necessarily we'll pay them. Our costs might go up and we'll just refuse to buy, and we'll buy other goods that are cheaper and more competitive, maybe from Thailand or Vietnam or India. So that the point is that the manufacturer pays the tariffs. Can he raise the price for the tariff and have us pay for it? And that's my argument. No. On some goods, maybe, if there's no competition and there's no other substitute. It's a Mercedes. Well, I can buy a Toyota. I don't need a Mercedes. If it's this polo shirt, well, I can go buy Nautica or Brooks Brothers. So as long as there's competition, you cannot force me you cannot just raise prices on the market and expect the market to bear it. That's not accurate. That's coming from a guy who's not an economist. This is why I warn you to be careful who you're listening to, and you want to listen to economists like me who can explain things versus, oh no, the U.S. will pay for it. No, we won't. Some people might, but most of the prices that are going up, plus with the inflation, we're not going to be able to. It won't happen. They'll make the goods. They'll sit on the shelves. They'll have to put them on sale, like I said, with dark chocolate. Then maybe we'll buy them once you reduce the price. But you cannot just go raise the prices. And if the purchaser is stupid enough to pay the price, then they're going to lose, because they'll purchase it and then put it at Kroger's for a couple dollars more, or Nike's or whatever they're selling. And people will just buy the substitute. We'll substitute for another good that's not as expensive. That's what'll happen. Or in the dark chocolate case, I waited for the sale. Now it's buy one, get one half off. Okay, now I'll buy two. But when you come off at $4.75, I'm not paying $9.50 for 2 bars. Now it's like $7 for 2 bars at buy one, get 1.5 off. Okay, well, that's a little more reasonable. So we wait. You don't buy it, the price drops because the business is to sell your inventory. But if nobody's buying it because it's too expensive, you can't sell your inventory. You wait for the sale. You're going to see it in meat. They raise the price on the meats. Nobody's buying. I'll wait till I see the price go to $10, $12 a pound. Then I'll buy my New York strips. Until then, I don't need them. I can get grass-fed hamburger. I can get chicken. I don't need to pay $20 for a New York strip. It ain't happening. They're good, but not what I need. Now, again, in my diet, I'm either getting meat, chicken, or fish. So I might, all of a sudden the salmon at $14 a pound is looking very good versus the $20 New York strip. It's pricey, but then when I look at the substitution goods, salmon at 14 beats New York at 20 all day long. So I go back to the salmon. Now you don't buy a lot of it at $14 a pound, but that's how it adjusts. The chicken's still like just moving up to like $3.99. Well, versus $20 New York strips, chicken looks really good at $3-4 a pound. That's how you beat it. You substitute around it. You find the value. You eat many things, so you just go more towards the chicken and not to the New York strip. And that's the bottom line, right? Stone Cold.
So much more for things. On top of that, you have inflation. And even though the government continues to insist that inflation is under control, it's not. So President Trump has walked himself into a corner. And essentially, the Chinese have said, if you want to play tariff roulette, be our guest, and handed us a pistol and said, go ahead and point it at your head, because that's effectively what he's done. Things are not going to get better. They're going to get worse from here. Because that's effectively what he's done. Things are not going to get better. They're going to get worse from here.
Moving to Israel and Gaza, General, Colonel, forgive me, Colonel, do you sense a consensus building in the West of a recognition of starvation, slaughter, and genocide?
I think there are lots of people that know the truth. I don't know how clearly that's understood inside the United States. Again, the problem with the American people, it's not really a problem, it's simply a statement of fact, is that most of us live remote from the rest of the world. And these things are, in the views of most Americans, what happens in Gaza is not our problem. It's Israel's problem. What Americans don't understand is the extent to which we are ultimately controlled and commanded by Israel. That's what Americans are only now beginning to figure out. As they figure that out, then I think the horror in Gaza will begin to hit home, and they'll understand that we're facilitating it, we're enabling it. And President Trump, I think, also recently mentioned, yes, what's happening in Gaza is terrible and it is starvation, but there doesn't seem to be any willingness on his part to do anything about it. And he acts as though it's beyond his ability to influence. Well, it may be, given the donors that control him, that's possible. And remember, the donors come from many categories: financial elites, ideologues, neocons. There are all sorts of different people that have mega donors. The problem.
See, now, is that a problem? So Trump's not even in control of Trump. The donors who put him in office are telling him what to do. What the fuck is that? So imagine that you don't live your own life. Some guy pays your rent and you have to do what he tells you, or he pays you more. He buys you a house and you have to do what he tells you, or he pulls the money. This is what happens in marriages when the woman marries, or the guy might marry because the other partner's has a lot of wealth. So if a woman marries for money, she's trapped because she has to do what he says, or he cuts her off. And the same thing if you marry a rich woman and she says, I want you to, go out and jog. Well, if you don't, she cuts you off. This is a very dangerous thing for people to have somebody tell them what to do. You don't have any freedom, but you get to share in the money. But this is ridiculous, where the president of the United States and all the senators and congressmen are not free to do what they want. They're all done by donors or handlers, he calls them, and they have to do what they have to do what the handlers tell them to do. Well, wait, this is the government. What do you mean they have to do what the handlers? And if the handlers want the war to continue, you're going to continue the war. If the handlers are the defense contractors, you go to Europe and say, "Hey, buy our defense contractors, buy our weapons." It's insane. Does Putin have handlers? I doubt it. Does she? I doubt it. Putin's rich. He's very rich. And these people that have the gold, they're in control. I'm in control of my own life. The gold and the silver keep me free. That's why I say it's freedom. I don't have a handler. I don't have a rich wife who I have to cater to. I'm not going to be controlled, but I've taken care of that with the gold and silver. I control myself. Now I might help Daria with a few bucks, but I don't control her. She's free to do as she is. I'm a good boss, let's say, where no, Daria, I won't give you rent anymore if you don't, do jumping jacks or something. I don't tell her that. So that's the thing. And Carmen was obvious, wanted the money, but I didn't get anything for the money. So that was ridiculous. Not that I wanted anything, but that's where you're at. You've got to be careful. So when the government, and this is every government in the world, is run by the defense contractors, the JP Morgans, the big bankers, the mafia, when those are the people in charge, that's the Godfather, right? We control the government, all those governments in your pocket, all the politicians, right? That's a problem when they're controlling you. How can you have a government that's controlled by rich people? Now, with Trump, you don't understand. He's a billionaire, and yet he's controlled. So he's doing what they're telling him. George Soros, I believe, is the controller because he's got billions of dollars. The Scott Simpson, the Treasury guy, is a Soros guy. So he's doing what Soros wants, and Soros is trying to bankrupt the U.S., and he'll buy the dollar cheap like he did in England. So I think Soros is running England and wants to bankrupt the U.S., but he can't. Putin told them to fuck off. So that's why we have the war with Russia. It's Soros against Putin. Soros has the money to do it. Now it becomes clear what's happening. All these people are dying. They don't care. They're just going for it. And Putin will not let Soros control him. Nobody's controlling Putin or she. So this is the problem. These guys are rich. They have the money. They control. Now, is somebody in Russia or China controlling them? I doubt it. Are there billionaires there? Absolutely. But I don't believe they control it. There are oligarchs in Russia, but I believe, at the end of the day, does Putin control himself, or is an oligarch controlling Putin? I don't know. It's probably 6 of one, half dozen of the other. There's probably some oligarchs he listens to, but I think at the end of the day, he's controlling it. But if he didn't bomb the Ukraine like he's doing now, they might have pulled him out of power going, we need you to bomb it. At least we look weak or something. I don't know. But this is the problem when you don't have the gold standard, because then you print more money and you print more money. And then all these oligarchs and all these billionaires who control everything are richer and richer and richer. Aha. But they don't realize they have monopoly money. And that's my point. All these guys who think they're wealthy have nothing. Only the ones with gold actually have the money and the control. So are they fighting to keep the gold price down so the oligarchs win? Probably. I think that's what we're dealing with in gold and silver is a lot more than we think. We think COMEX's price is down. Well, that's the oligarchs trying to keep the gold price down because those with gold will rise above them. And silver's taken a beating today. The last few days it took a beating. So we'll see. But China and Russia do want a higher gold price because they got the gold. COMEX will break up. It's just a matter of time. Don't be stupid. Just keep buying as much as you can. Not even a question. It'll go way, way up soon. We just got to blow up COMEX, which is almost blown up. Not a lot of time left for COMEX because they got to start covering it with physical and on the delivery, and they just don't have the gold and silver to deliver. So we're close to the end. And then we are smart enough to then we have our own freedom because we have the gold and silver. We will not be controlled. The government wants to control us with the stable coins or the CBDCs. That's the government controlling us, telling us what to do, and we're telling them to fuck off. We're not interested. All right, let's see.
No, is he does have enormous power if he chooses to exercise it. It may not make his donors happy.
That's Trump.
But if he decided to get on a plane, Judge, and fly instantly to Israel and land and demand to be taken to Gaza, he may be obstructed initially by the Israelis, but I think ultimately we have enough military power in the region that he could be accompanied by U.S. security details, and he could go see for himself the mindless murder, the deprivation. And this argument is, well, this is all Hamas's fault. You know, that's why. And if they just dispose of Hamas, well, then everything will be fine. Well, it's not going to work that way. We know that's not the case. The purpose is very straightforward. They want to exterminate these people or drive them out, one of the two. And they don't care which. And they're completely unconcerned about how many people die. They actually think that's a good thing. And this is the Israeli perspective. And President Trump is supporting it. And
the president was seated next to Prime Minister Starmer. This is the same time he issued the threat to President Putin, about which you spoke a few minutes ago.
I think that's because I paused the talk. It creates the commercials.
Sort of wringing his hands at the starvation, at the so-called aid the United States has delivered, which is really part of this Mossad CIA ruse, this humanitarian organization that's providing merely a pittance. And why haven't they thanked us for it? Well, you, of course, put your finger on it. It's not a question of them thanking us for it. It's why have you caused it, and why do you continue to cause it? Oh, but Colonel, before you respond, here's someone who says there is no starvation in Gaza. Chris, number 17.
Israel is presented as though we are applying a campaign of starvation in Gaza. What a bold-faced lie. There is no policy of starvation in Gaza, and there is no starvation in Gaza.
Well, the Soviets orchestrated numerous famines. The most famous and the largest, of course, is referred to as the Holodomor, and that's when an estimated 7 to 9 million Ukrainians that were so-called kulaks, they were people that had made the mistake of owning, say, a cow and perhaps a few acres of land on which to grow food, were then systematically starved, deported, shot, murdered, raped. You get on the list. He sounds a lot like Stalin and Yagoda. Stalin at the time insisted to everyone in the West, through his spokespersons, there was no starvation anywhere in the Soviet Union. Only Stalin went a little further than our friend Netanyahu. Stalin had trucks, black trucks, large ones that belonged to the KGB, and he and Beria decided to paint the word meat on the side of the trucks, and these trucks would be all over Moscow, of course, picking up people, usually at night, but picking them up, and then they would disappear. They would end up in the Gulag or simply be executed in the Lubyanka prison. And the journalists saw all of these trucks with meat stenciled on the side and said, look, what a brilliant job Commissar Stalin is doing. He's ensuring that Moscow and all of his citizens are supplied with all the meat that they need. That was reported in the New York Times, and the Washington Post. This is not new. This is an old ruse. The NKVD was very good at this. I think Mr. Netanyahu is trying to do the same thing. He doesn't have trucks with meat painted on them, but he does have control of the Western media, and he has control of our government. And the outcome is that he can stand up there and tell bold-faced lies all day long until nightfall, and he's probably never going to be challenged.
And he has the.
So what's wrong with that scenario? Netanyahu, who's not even an American, has control of the American media and the American military and the politicians. The fuck's going on here? Why is this being allowed to happen? I mean, this is the biggest job. Oh, well, he paid a lot of money. You know why? Because 9/11, the Israelis stole the gold. That's the ones who stole the gold. That's the point of 9/11. And now the more we know about Israel controlling the U.S., the easier it is to go, that makes a lot of sense. That's why there was no F-18s in the air when they hit the Twin Towers, and then they were demolitioned as they just went boom, 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 because you could see the white puffs. So the buildings fell because of demolition. And then I think building 7 or one of the buildings had gold, and that's what it was a gold robbery. That's how Israeli got all the money. And then they're using it to control the politicians. Now you can see the whole cycle of 9/11, what it really was. And it's a shame. And Bush should rot in hell for it. But again, nobody knows. But the guy who owned the building knew, and he went and got in terrorist insurance a week before. He gets terrorist insurance on one of the Twin Towers or both of them, and then he makes billions of dollars because the buildings go down as a terrorist incident, even though it wasn't. The planes did not bring the buildings down. It was the demolition that did. And it was just a facade so the Israelis could steal all the gold under whatever building it was. It was billions of dollars of gold. So probably, maybe 80, 90 tons they took out. There's a one of the YouTubes that has the Brinks trucks going out with the gold. A few years later, Israeli now controls the U.S., all the politicians. Well, the only way to control them is to pay them, right? So, they're using the gold to pay them. That's why Israel is the power in the Middle East, and we do what they say. Trump works for them, they don't work for us. Trump is controlled by the Israelis, as is our government. It's insane. It's ridiculous. What the fuck is going on here? I can't believe what I'm seeing. I don't think anybody was controlling the Romans. I think they pretty much controlled themselves. So this is the problem when you don't have a gold backed currency, when it's just print and print and print, and they print them $1 million, and most of these people are too stupid to realize it's worthless. And so I'm going to print money and it's worthless to you, but I'll print more, and then I get to control you. You do what I want. This is a sad, sad state. Like, how the fuck did this happen? And yet it's going on. And this is why I'm begging, buy gold and silver. They can't fuck with your gold and silver. They want to do stable coins. They got Bitcoin. They got the dollar that's worthless. What do you think Bitcoin is? Bitcoin's control. It's not real. Stable coins are certainly not real. So I don't get it. The only real thing you can do is with the gold and silver. They can't control you. However, they're trying to control the price, even though it's up to 3,300, 3,400. Silver snuck to 39. They're trying to control the price. Why do you think silver's not $500 an ounce yet? They're controlling it. Is it worth 500? It's probably worth 5,000, but they're controlling the price because they know a lot of people have silver and gold, and they won't let you make money on it. So they keep the price down. So you can't, like, if silver hit $200 an ounce, I'm retired because I got a lot of silver. I know Luke does. I know Bobby does. And they got a lot of silver. And if it finally hit 500 an ounce, we'd all be retired. And you couldn't take it from us. So this is the problem that we have. And they're playing cat and mouse with us, not letting the prices of let's short it and short it. Who came up with that stupid idea? But that's the problem, right? It's controlling the price. So anyway.
This monster, the Ben Gavir and his coalition, this is just 2 days ago, Chris number 18.
A moral bankruptcy that while our hostages are in Gaza, our prime minister is transferring humanitarian aid to Gaza. I think that at this stage, the only thing that should have been sent to Gaza is one thing: bombs. Bomb, conquer, encourage immigration. And
here's a character who says it is morally bankrupt to provide people with food.
Well, if you're dealing
this
with...
is what's holding together Netanyahu's coalition. If this guy and his colleagues leave, then Netanyahu doesn't have a majority. We understand how that system works. So this is the influence on the prime minister's decisions, as reprehensible as these people are.
Well, maybe, but I wouldn't dismiss out of hand the idea that Mr. Netanyahu does not completely agree with him. And I still think a large portion of the Israeli population is quite content to see these people exterminated. It's very sad, but that's the way it is. And, the Soviet model is in full effect here. And I think it would be nice if someone in the American political arena manifested some degree of moral courage. I mean, once you move beyond Thomas Massey, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and Rouhana, and a few others, you don't find too many people. They don't seem to care. This is going to come back to haunt us, Judge. We're involved in this up to our necks. And this is a terrible stain on the honor of the American people and the United States.
Colonel, getting back to Trump's threat, if you will, to President Putin, where do you think the stories are emanating from that the press is picking up, which I've seen a number of times in the past week, claiming that the Russians have lost 1 million troops in Ukraine? Is this CIA nonsense being peddled by the Washington Post again?
Absolutely. CIA, MI6, Mossad are all in the same organizational construct. They reinforce each other. They work with each other. And these narratives are spun up in London and in Langley. And then they're disseminated to the press. And, you have others that are more expert on this than I am, whether it's Phil Giraldi or John Mearsheim or any other numbers of people that are familiar with the intelligence sources for the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, the Washington Post. And these papers just mindlessly reprint this nonsense. It has no basis in fact. It's complete fantasy. I think the sad truth of the matter is as follows. For the Russians, I think they finally figured out whatever we say they can't believe. It's just a lie. And they've given up on us. And so they'll be polite to us and they'll smile, but they'll continue doing their work. And I think they figured out they're going to have to move west. They're going to have to cross the river. They have to go into Kiev and go into Odessa and be prepared for whatever happens after that, at least until the governments in Western Europe change hands. That will be a strategic sea change. And then the truth will come out. It'll look like de-Stalinization or denazification when that comes.
Let's get fiscal. Lesson 3, savings gains. Setting up your financial future.
De-Stalinization or denazification when that comes.
Were you surprised when Ursula von der Leyen supinely agreed to a 15% tariff on all European goods or all EU goods going into the United States? A decision that has been met with widespread condemnation and disapproval in Europe.
Supine is an interesting adjective, Judge. I would have said serpentine, maybe. Look, I think she and her globalist friends that are still in power in Europe are desperate to keep us in the war in Ukraine. They've concluded that if this war in Ukraine ends anytime soon, they're out of office. Because as soon as it becomes clear that the Russians have won decisively, as soon as it becomes obvious that we in the United States, our government is no longer interested in funding it or can't, the game is up for them. They have bet everything on the war in Ukraine to ensure their authority is unchecked. And that's what they've got right now. And so I think they were willing to say and do almost anything for Trump, provided he keeps sending weapons, keeps sending money, and keeps troops on the ground along the border in Poland, Romania, Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia. So I think that's what it's all about. I don't think it's going to work. I think it's all going to fall apart. It'll probably fall apart sooner rather than later. But again, it's all based on this false assumption. And all you have to do, I live 65 miles west of D.C., but all I have to do is go into Washington, go to any of the so-called think tanks, which of course are oxymorons. They're all dominated by the same people. They're all also pushing war in the Middle East or war with China and war everywhere. And they say the same thing. Oh, Russia is weak. We just do this a little longer. Just a few more months. Russia will fall. They're weak. And oh, Putin, he's just a dictator. People are ready to overthrow him. He's weak. Wrong. It's all nonsense. And of course, it's all predicated on the great myth that we're this perfect liberal democracy. Even though most Americans are concluding with each passing day, the ballot box is broken. And it doesn't make any difference whom you vote for. You end up with the same policies. And if you look at Trump and what he said before he was elected, what he's done since he got there, two things worlds apart.
Yes.
He knows it.
Well, which is the greater threat to European economic stability, the United States or Russia?
Well, it certainly isn't Russia. We're the ones that have demanded through their elites that they deindustrialize themselves. That Germany, for instance, commit national suicide and is well on its way. The problem, though, is that there's a real war brewing in Europe, a major war. But it's not with Russia. It's with the millions and millions of non-Europeans that were herded into those countries since 2015. That's what everybody's afraid of. They should be afraid of it because it's a catastrophe for Europe. And it's obvious in Italy. It's obvious in Germany or Austria or France or anywhere you go, and especially now in England. That's the truth. Nobody in these countries is interested in going to war with Russia. And the fear factor is diminishing as more and more people figure out Russia presents no threat to Europe at all.
Excuse me for jumping back and forth from topics, but I want to show you this latest approval rating. This is a poll taken by CBS News of Americans aged 18 to 29 concerning President Trump's approval rating. In early February, 55% approved, 45% disapproved. Now, after the recognition of the slaughter in Gaza, 28% approve, that's down 44%, and 72% disapprove, that's up 54%. Even Bernie Sanders, a year and a half late, has condemned the slaughter in Gaza, which he originally voted to finance.
Well, you're seeing the difference between the boomer generation, of which I'm a member, and the people that are probably under the age of 50 or even younger than that. If you're right now 30, 35 years of age, the average American is probably looking for a job, may have gone to college, if so, is struggling with debt, trying to find a job that is commensurate with his educational skills and abilities. These things are not plentiful. And there are a lot of increasingly radicalized young men in the United States as a result. They know they'll never see Social Security. They know this is all, fantasy world. The world has changed. They understand what the sovereign national debt means in terms of their long-term financial future. The baby boomers, on the other hand, they keep pushing the I believe button. These are the people who say, oh, well, the government will sort this out. We've done this before. Oh, they can print more money. You go down to the younger people, and they say it's nonsense.
Right.
And the boomers are predisposed, as I always was, to be very supportive of Israel. And they just sort of cringe and turn away from the horror over there. But everybody else looks at this and says, what's wrong with you? This is just murder. This is inexcusable. We should have nothing to do with it. So I'm not surprised by those numbers. But remember, until you get these boomers to wake up, until they figure out that their pension funds are all going to go bust when we go into this financial crisis that's looming over us, when they figure out that we can't sell our bonds to anybody, and this new scheme from Besant is not going to work in terms of a stable coin or anything else to try and attract foreign investment in the country. When they understand that, then things will really change. But this boomer generation, remember, controls most of the wealth, and they're fat, dumb, and happy.
Senator Angus King votes with the Democrats, but considers himself an independent. Here's what he said 2 days ago, that I'm not voting to support Israel as long as there are starving children in Gaza. Chris, number 19.
In a controversial new bill that just passed, all 50 states approved $38.
Support Israel as long as there are starving children in Gaza. Chris, number 19.
To me, Israel has the resolution of this problem in their hands. They should be sponsoring and encouraging and supporting a massive humanitarian program in Gaza. They have not done that. They have continually slow-walked and impeded the ability of aid, particularly food, to get into Gaza. And it's time for them to change their path. I issued a statement today. I'm through voting for support for Israel as long.
Hundreds of thousands of human beings recently stated in a speech in Germany that United States ground forces could neutralize Russian ground forces in a certain place inside of Russia. I think I have fairly characterized what he said. Could a statement like this have been made, of this magnitude, to this military audience have been made without the express approval of Secretary Hegseth or even the president himself?
No. In fact, I think it's important to point that out. First of all, military professionals, as a rule, do not speak publicly on these matters of policy.
Hello, Heed.
Saying, well, we can overrun and take Kaliningrad, which is the portion of East Prussia that Stalin awarded, or FDR awarded to Stalin towards the end of the war, is what he's talking about. And it's a sad and tragic legacy of the Second World War that this little spot was retained by the Soviets and then subsequently was inherited when Russia became Russia, because it's a permanent catalyst for conflict to some extent, because the Poles, Lithuanians don't like it. The Germans, they lost the war. So at least their view is, we lost the war, we lost all of this territory, there's nothing we can do about it. But for him to stand up and say these things, first of all, he's inflating our capabilities to do everything that he outlines, which is not unusual, but it's always a bad idea. But more important, he's communicating an intent. And sadly, I think this aligns with President Trump and probably Secretary Hegseth and his deputy, Mr. Feinberg. This is anti-Russian. This is threatening to Russia. And in their minds, they think this is somehow or another reinforcing the end of the coming deadline. Now, we can talk about Donahue as where he came from and what he's known for, which is pretty disturbing given his past that he would end up at this 4-star level. But unfortunately, I think that President Trump probably likes this bellicosity, this sort of Bill O'Reilly.
Okay, let's go. Hey, Heed. Brandon Lowe home run today. I don't know who Brandon Lowe is. What team is he on? And I would say it depends on who they're pitching. There's only 3 games today, so I don't know who Brandon Lowe is. Let's take a look at who Brandon Lowe is. I think we're just about done with that whole what's going on in the thing. When the Yankees are already up 6-0, what team is Brandon Lowe on? So if it's Texas, Seattle, you could picture a home run, although Seattle, they don't score a lot of runs there. Atlanta, Cincinnati, if he's on Cincinnati facing Atlanta, yes. If he's facing Cincinnati, no. And the Yankees are already 6-0 over Tampa. So all I could say is if he's on Atlanta, no, because they're facing Andrew Abbott, who's 8-1 with a 209. You want to stay away from that. So if it's going against a good pitcher, he's not going to get a hit. If he's going against here, Texas, Seattle, both pitchers are in the 5s, he could have it. But I don't know who's Brandon Lowe. Let's see. Brandon Lowe. I don't normally like to play player props. Mets possibly trading for Brandon Lowe. Oh, he's on Tampa Bay. He's a center fielder. Let's see. So he's facing the Yankees today. It's 6-0. Oh, it's the third inning. Well, let's go into the box score. Let's see what he's doing, who he is. Brandon Lowe. So the question is, will Tampa score a run? Brandon Lowe. Oh yeah, second baseman. 0 for 1. He's hitting 271. Let's see. You're going against the Yankees. Marcus Stroman with the 5.59 ERA, but he's been pitching better of late. In the Yankee Stadium, I'm going to say no, especially you're already in the third inning, but hard to say. You have a long left field in the Yankee Stadium, a short right field, or maybe if he's a left-handed hitter, possibly. But yeah, I try to stay away from these player props because who the fuck knows? The only thing I can say with player props is if you're playing against Philadelphia, I'd bet under on them, and if you're playing a team like Detroit or a team with a weak defense, maybe Tennessee, Miami, I would say yes. Gold 32.94, silver 36.65. I think we'll see silver back to 39 soon. And gold's sitting around 3,300. The low for the day is 32.91, 32.94. When we get to China, we will see it go. Let's look at the stocks today. Down 167 to 44.2. So I can't believe the stock market's that high. As far as the gold and silver, they're extremely low. Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind that's our freedom is the gold and silver because nobody can fuck with them. You can get comex fucking with them temporarily, but you've got the whole BRICS buying gold and silver. And right now we're buying it cheap. So I would just keep buying the gold and the silver. As I was trying to tell Awas, it's always a good time to buy physical at these prices. They're way, way low. So I don't know about Brandon Lowe. I did talk about the NFL Week 1. Tonight we do have San Diego and Detroit at Ohio. I don't know. You have Hendon Hooker playing, which will be good. He'll probably put up 2 or 3 touchdowns. He's very good. Nobody's giving him credit for beating Alabama 50-49. Again, I don't understand it. Yeah, he got hurt. He struggled against Georgia, but everybody struggled against Georgia. But the Alabama game was huge. So I don't know. In a big game, he comes through. Jared Goff doesn't. We've seen it time and time again on the Rams, on Detroit. Sean McVay would not have traded Goff for Stafford. That tells you all you need to know. He thinks Stafford's better than Goff. Goff has done nothing. If you watch the games, all Goff does is he hands off and then he play action passes off of it. When they're behind, like the Washington game, and had to get touchdowns, he threw interceptions. He did lead you back against Houston after getting you behind to Houston. So he threw five picks against Houston. So we were down. Now he did come back against Houston, but a lot of it is the reverse. They like playing the reverse with their fast guy and then running. The Alabama guy, gets a lot of yards running. And then St. Thomas catches some balls on these slant routes where the defenses are so bad with these weak zones. And the guy just runs across the field. He's wide open. I don't really consider Goff that good of a quarterback. Not like a Joe Burrow. Not like Mahomes. He's not in their class. Anyway, so that's about it. So we see the market down. We see gold right around 3,300, silver in the 36s, but it got hammered the last 2 days, and they're going to have to pay for it because they're going to have to. These countries will do physical. They will demand the physical, and I don't know where the U.S. is going to get it because they don't have it. So that's what we have. Questions, comments? lunch and then off to the pool to do my workout. All this war. I mean, it's scary when you see that there's handlers, right? Trump's handlers, British handler, the Israeli guy is the handler, and George Soros is a handler, and the defense contractors, and it's really scary. So people want to play the stock market and make money. It doesn't matter. You're still in the dollar. The only way you can win is if you do sell your Bitcoin or you do sell your Apple stock or whatever, to get the fuck out of this. If you sell your Bitcoin and you keep it in this, you have nothing. This is not worth anything. So the game that you're playing that you don't understand is they're keeping you in dollars. You're fucked. You're fucked if you stay in the stock market or in the Bitcoin. Your only hope for your freedom is to get out of that, get into gold. So if I had Bitcoin, I bought it $1, which apparently everybody did. Now it's 110 or whatever. What are you holding it for? What are you waiting? Well, it could go to $1 million. Even if it does, it's still in dollars. It's still worthless. This is not worth anything. That's the point you're missing. You have to get out of the dollar. Well, it was fine in 2008. We recovered. They can't do it now. There's nothing left. They cannot bail out the banks. Banks are fucked. They're all in trouble. So you can either bury your head in the sand or you can get off the Titanic onto the lifeboat. So it's up to you what you do. But if you want to protect yourself, I would at least sell half of your Bitcoin and buy gold with it. And then let the other half go up. That's fine. But Bitcoin, it's a Ponzi scheme. What do you mean, Howard? Well, because it's not worth anything. It's not backed by anything. It's in dollars. When the dollar goes out, what's Bitcoin going to do? So this is what people just don't quite understand. Anyway, have a good day. www.teaserking.com. I will possibly be on tomorrow, later with my Gray Sports Almanac of the MAC and the Sun Belt, which are important conferences. You make a lot of money in those, especially the Sun Belt. They make a lot of money. Marshall, 47 players gone from last year, and a new coach. Look for them to be shit, and that's why Georgia's 38-point favorites. So usually when you see a big spread, ask yourself why. When something doesn't make sense, ask yourself why. Usually there's an injury or something that you're not privy to. So with that, www.teaserking.com. All my prices are up to date, so you can go buy. I set the passwords for the first few weeks and the final week. So if you bought the year, you would get that password, but I got to do all the middle weeks. So I'll be busy doing that. Interview at Ford at Monday at 3. I asked my friend who used to work there, I go, why am I meeting the person I already did a Teams interview with? And I think it's just like me and Dario. You got to meet in person. And then you know for sure, because meeting online, like you guys meet me online, but I'm the same as I would be in person. So with like a boyfriend, girlfriend, you've got to meet and touch each other and talk and go to dinner and stuff like that. So that's what I say. So I don't know. I assume I'll meet the team. I don't know if I have the job. I definitely in the running if I'm meeting her in person. She's not going to waste her time. And it is at 3:00. So I don't think I'll have to take a test since I've already worked for Ford 3 times. And I got a letter of recommendation, and I worked for Mercedes for 4 years. She can't really can you do this job or that job or that or this? I mean, if you start asking those questions, it's like getting Joe Burrow. Well, can you throw the pass over the middle? Like, really, dude? You don't know? You didn't watch LSU or Cincinnati Bengals, so you really don't have to. And I think that's why if you see the players, they can see what they can do. So with us, you can't see what kind of finance or IT people are. And that's why you have the interviews. But even that, I think, is very weak to figure out. You can ask somebody and maybe you can get a feel for them. but I think the background helps. Yeah, he worked at Visteon and Ford and Mercedes and GM. So yeah, he wouldn't get all these jobs if you didn't know what he was doing, especially if they last a year or two, especially contract. If you last, because they can easily get rid of you on contract, you're a PO. They'll just, they'll let you go. If I don't know Excel, they'll let me go. So obviously, all those little questions, you're just wasting your time if you're asking them, because clearly I know how to do it, or I wouldn't be at Mercedes 4 years, right? After 4 minutes, they'd have let me go. Anyway, I think that's about it. So www.teaserking.com. You want to buy football picks. Otherwise, everything else, we talked about diabetes. We talked about the war, the economy. Again, you want to buy gold and silver. And again, inflation is printing the money, not prices. So the money has been printed. It's not worth anything. That's inflation. So anybody says 2 or 3% is just full of shit. They don't know what they're talking about. All right. Well, I will see everybody tomorrow. If you want, you can email me, www.teaserking.com. Go to the homepage. We'll have my email on it, and you can certainly email me, and I will certainly respond. All right. Well, have a good day and enjoy. All right. Take care, everybody.